We got a bunch of fucking skanks in the house. Ladies and gentlemen, Legion of Skanks.
Yeah.
Cheers. Very excited to get all you guys together. This was a good move. Good idea. Let's all credit to praise to Big J.
Fuck all praise be due.
But I'm glad. This is fun. Long time coming.
Fuck yeah, thanks for having us.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah, very excited to be here, Mr. Rogan. Legion of Skanks in the house.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you right now, and we really mean this, this has been a very, very long time coming. All of the fans have been kind of looking for this moment. So this is a very, very big deal for me personally. So I want to say thanks for having us on.
Lewis is one sentence away from crying.
Yeah, did you write that last night?
We're all so big. We probably shouldn't be talking in public. Yeah. But cheers. Yeah. Cheers, gentlemen.
I feel like you wrote that last night, Lewis. Mr. Rogan, how I spent my summer was good, and we went to the park, and we got to ride all the rides.
It's true. What do you want me to say? I'm not going to sit here and
sincere these days.
Yeah, pretend that it's not a big deal. It's a huge deal.
Lewis is rarely impressed. Very unimpressed guy. And he's very impressed today.
Yeah. This is a fucking Disneyland for dudes that we're in right now. I just walked into we're in an airport hangar, and there's just bow and arrows and dead animals and pool tables and
battle bots.
I feel most men live lives that are very, very suppressed.
Sure.
I think most men, if they were left to their own devices and someone said, yeah, you can do whatever you want in the building. Wait a minute. I can just decide what to put in the building? Just whatever. Just put whatever in the building? You do the exact same shit.
Is there enough room for an archery setup?
That's one of the things that I wanted. I wanted to make sure there was room for an indoor range.
That was when you went into buying a place?
Requirement. Yeah,
that must have been an interesting conversation with a real estate agent.
Yeah, they're like, what? I'm like, I need at least 40 yards.
I
said, you had to get extra insurance for that?
I said, can I virtual hunt? Dana, is it?
Someone in a red blazer. Yeah, we have not had this request.
That virtual hunt game is a very popular game. The techno hunt thing.
Yeah.
Like that thing is.
It's so cool.
So addictive. It's so addictive, though. It can give you bad habits too. You get a little punchy with your trigger.
I do like that they have some of the animations, not the real life things of the deer. Where the elk, like they're looking at you. They really do give you a sad face. Like, can you do it? Can you do it?
Yeah, you can probably get it with other things too, right? Like, couldn't you get it with superheroes? Couldn't you get it like you were that Archer dude from the Avengers and fucking those monsters are coming after you?
Children.
Remember?
Yeah. That's what I would do. Just young children.
Yeah. Lewis, why? Why?
Yes.
Because I don't want to do it in
My
real life.
family's looking for me.
Can we upload everyone who bullied Lewis in the 3rd grade to that game?
Kids.
That's the same thing. That's like when they give the pedophiles like little underage fuck dolls to try to keep them from doing it for real. So you just murder kids with a bow and arrow.
Did they really do that?
Yeah,
they don't give it to them. No.
Well, they're available in Asia, I think.
You can buy child fuck
countries.
robots. I've heard.
You can buy child fuck robots, and not in this country. I found out
it's a weird moral thing, though, right? Like, would you rather have them fuck a little robot in their closet somewhere?
Yeah,
because your first instinct is always like, oh, that's horrible. But then you're like, it's kind of like giving someone with anger issues a punching bag. Like, maybe it's not the worst thing.
It's like they've got that thing, whatever it is. Like, how do you get it out?
Yeah, on that little sweet, sweet, beautiful punching bag.
It's so fucked up, man. As long as it's featureless.
Yeah, child fuck robots don't punch back.
You want to like meet in the middle. You're like, okay, it's legal, but you can't name it. This is going too far.
Well, do you think that you could fuck a real doll? I mean, you definitely could if you had to, but would that be something you'd be interested in?
I think I couldn't stop laughing at how ridiculous this situation was. I'd rather just jerk off and think about things.
I fucked we had as a sponsor
Fleshlight. I've had a Fleshlight forever.
The Fleshlight is very utilitarian. You're not confusing yourself.
Nobody's ever said that word before.
Oh, baby,
describing.
She's the girl of my dreams.
But I've never even used it. I've had it forever. I've never even thought about it. I couldn't guess why I would want to use it. It seems weird.
It's weird. It feels good though.
Does
it? Feels way better than jerking off. Yeah.
Does it really?
It engulfs your whole dick.
Yeah, and you put it in warm water, and you get it like to a temperature of a body. And you're like, woo!
It gets too weird with it.
This is real. Somehow or another, there's like a portal. Like this tube is a portal to another woman in another dimension, but all you can get out is her vagina.
Just hold
it. It feels real.
The name of this dimension is called Awesome.
Do you jerk off with a fleshlight, or do you hold it and fuck it?
No, you jerk off.
No, you jerk off with it.
Jay, you jerked me off with a fleshlight.
Yeah, but that was for show.
Guys.
That was on camera,
I
behind
thought
the
we
curtain.
screened this interview.
We did this on the podcast. I swear to God, he jerked me off with a flashlight.
We gave this to
Was
your
it good?
producer.
No, I couldn't get hard. There was a female comic.
Whoa. What's that about?
Is that a fuck
Real
spot?
doll.
That's a real doll?
That's a real doll.
They're getting pretty
Wow.
good. Man.
Ew, a redhead though.
There's a documentary on
Ew,
Netflix
a
about
redhead.
people fucking sex robots really have come far because there are people who fall in love with these sex robots and it looks like the fucking taxi driver, Johnny on the Spot from Total Recall. It's like this crazy like animatronic Chuck E. Cheese bass player.
Well, it's going to get to a point where it can totally mimic you. I mean, it's going to get to a point where it really is like Blade Runner. Is that what they are now? Yeah. That's the dude
Oh, look at the
ones?
dude one.
I thought about buying a dude one to do jujitsu with. I was going to order one with very clearly no dick and a sealed butthole. I was like, the proportions are perfect because I have a doll. It's this Bubba dummy that you practice submissions on, but it's super stiff. It's like this. But you basically can drill the moves, but it's not the same as drilling it on an anatomically correct body. If you had an anatomically correct body to practice jujitsu on, you'd get some fucking tight moves.
I can't wait. Can't wait till the day when you're announcing for robot fights in the UFC.
No, I have zero interest. There's nothing at stake if they live or die. It doesn't matter. The whole thing about fighting is that there's some horrible, gigantic thing at stake.
You could fuck one though.
Yeah, you can fuck with
I'm not
them.
gonna watch them fight. Would you watch two robots fuck?
I would if there was like some sort of a program that they were running. I'd want to see like what the program was.
How they could do? Yeah, it wouldn't be
Yeah.
like Jack material.
Yeah,
it would
like, what
completely
do they-
be fascination.
Yeah, they would probably like, talk to each other in numbers, and they would both be dudes. They would both be.
There was
dude.
one that they just made a fuck doll, right? And this just happened. There's videos of it. The robots started speaking like a weird code to each other. These were like fucking like straight up fuck dolls.
Skynet, dude.
And they would turn them on, and then they started speaking in what seemed like a code, and people were like freaking out about this.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, they had these computers. They were linked together, and they started communicating to each other in a language that the coders didn't understand, and they shut it off. They're like, "What?"
Just simply to unplug it.
Yeah,
Like,
but
nope.
they think. But I heard that my version of it that I just said might be the most spectacular version sounding, but might not be accurate. And that what they might have gotten is like they might have got stuck in like a feedback loop and just been making gibberish.
Right.
I heard that too. So I don't know.
No
who's
one's confirmed
I'm
yet.
way too fucking stupid to know who's right.
Let's just hope it's that second one and
Yes.
not the first one.
Yeah,
The
the
first
more
one's
fun
faster.
story.
The first one sounds like an opening scene in a Terminator movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But at the same time, the solution being like, don't plug that in again, man. Yeah, man. I know you're gonna want to. I know it's just hanging right there.
Like what
Don't.
the fuck are we gonna do? Like I had a podcast with Sam Harris about it, and he is terrified of AI, and he's far smarter than me.
Yeah,
so
that's-
whenever I talk to him about shit, I go, "Oh, okay."
And he's terrified. of it.
Terrified.
That's what freaks me out is when people way smarter than me are terrified about it. Like, what's his name who just
Elon
passed
Musk.
away? Elon Musk is terrified. Stephen Hawkins
Stephen
was terrified.
Hawkins,
Like,
yeah,
all these guys are like,
terrified.
no, this is going bad. And then you're like, shit.
Sometimes they're too close to it. You know, I feel like some people also get
Maybe.
too, bogged down to the details. When you live your life very ignorantly like I do, I have no fear of AI technology, guys. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Did this self-driving Tesla already kill somebody? Or,
yes.
or
Just
self-driving
a lady-
taxi or
well,
whatever?
she did something very reckless. She walked right into traffic. And she might have been a homeless lady. She might have been on drugs. They're not exactly sure. I don't think the results of the autopsy are out yet. But you watch the video. She basically just walks right in front of the car. Like the car's going down the road.
So a
and then
person
she
driving
steps
wouldn't have
off.
made much difference.
Maybe. I don't know, man. I mean, it's hard to tell whether or not you'd be able to react.
Well, I guess the technology is, does it have, the technology of stopping quick enough to not hit somebody. They want to make it safer, right? That's the idea.
Yeah.
But I think it is, right? I think there's more human error when you're dealing with people drinking, smoking weed, paying attention to their cell phones. I almost would rather just trust, even if there's a few deaths per year, there's way more deaths per year with, people being
Lewis
idiots.
just laid out the logic for why the robots are going to
Was the
take
lady
over.
black?
I trust them.
I trust them.
Well,
It's a black lady, right?
I don't know.
It would be fine. There's another video of it just stopping perfectly for a white woman who ran in the traffic.
Racist Tesla.
Racist Tesla, piece
Could
of
you
shit.
imagine if it needs to reflect off your skin to get an accurate reading? So anything dark in the Mediterranean, it just fucking runs over.
The Tesla stops at Olive.
It stops in Persian.
It turns out just through science, it has like the same racism of like the 1890s, where they're like, we'll give the Italians a pass.
Yeah.
But the rest of you guys.
There's two different types of Mexicans. There's those Oscar de la Hoya Mexicans, Mexicans, and then there's those other Mexicans that look like Indian.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. Where the
essentially.
mustache starts on the edge of the lips.
Where would it Where would it go with them? You know, that's what that's what Mexico is essentially, right? It was a combination of the Native Americans and Spanish invaders.
Right. Yeah, and then I think, and then the Spanish ones are like, they're the ones who are like looked down at like the locals. But at this point, they're all kind of mixed, I think.
Yeah.
But like, there's still just the different shades.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
you
a
get
real
Canelo Alvarez,
Yeah.
right? Fucking redheaded
Redheaded
Mexican
white
dude.
guy, yeah.
Very bizarre looking.
Louis
Yeah.
C.K. is another one. He's a
Yeah.
redheaded Mexican dude.
Yeah, crazy.
I never even think about that Louis
Yeah.
Mexican.
Yeah, he should have started playing that card a lot harder after the New York Times article. Like, his apology letter should have been like, "Well, as a Mexican, American,
That's a Mexican.
I don't
Well,
know.
He was
I
born
don't
in
want any
Mexico.
trouble.
Louis-
You girls
Was
want to
he?
watch me jacket?
I believe he was born in Mexico.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that though.
He was either born in Mexico or he definitely lived in Mexico.
Really? That's I would never have guessed that.
Yeah.
My family lives in Mexico. They retired to Mexico. My parents did.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? To
Just fucking chill out.
Jesse the Body Ventura talks about Mexico with a lot of reverence.
People who live there. I've got a buddy of mine who's got a place in Cabo, and he loves it. He loves it.
It's okay. Cabo's a particularly douchey city. Like, I went there to do a comedy festival, and it's like straight up the worst people from, like, think about the worst, like, 40-year-old couple from like your hometown that just like fake tan assholes. A whole
Florida.
city. Yeah.
It's like Florida.
But then they all go and meet up in one town. So it's just like thousands of fucking awful people in hot ass Mexico. I don't get it. I don't understand if you smoke weed why you would go to the Caribbean and not just go to Jamaica every single time.
Is Jamaica the spot?
Dog. I love it. It's the
He
fucking,
loves it.
I love it.
Is that cool?
He's pushing it hard on me.
If
Have you
Lewis
guys gone?
prefaced with dog, he's being serious. I've never been. Oh, actually, I was, but it was just like a stop on a cruise,
No.
and I didn't really go
You
to
didn't
like
experience
the
Have
real
you guys
park.
ever thought about doing a Skanks cruise?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we have.
Yeah, we
should
have. for
definitely
sure.
do that.
We do our comedy festival every summer, and we've thought about doing a. What's funny, the festival was
Skank
influenced by the cruise because we did these cruises, and the idea is you can't escape the bands can't escape the fans. They're on this
Right.
cruise ship. You're hanging out the whole fucking time. So it's not like you go to a comedy festival. It's in 10 different locations. You're going to see a show, right?
Right.
Skank Fest is all one location. It's a party, 2.5 days nonstop. You're in one location, so everybody's hanging out,
So where do
everybody's
you guys do
drinking.
it?
We're doing it this year at a place called Brooklyn Bazaar in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. It's like it's an old Polish catering hall that has like 4 different rooms. We're gonna have 3 different stages going on simultaneously. It's gonna be
Wow.
cool. Yeah, really good.
Wow. And how did Ari Shafir get the publicity scoop?
I believe he organized the festival, right, Lewis?
He's a piece of shit.
Is that not?
He got the scoop on you.
Yeah,
what
he
happened?
did.
That motherfucker.
No, Ari, look, I fucking love Ari to death, but he.
How many people have said that? How many people have said that in
But-
Ari's life? I love Ari to death, but
However,
he's a motherfucker.
Look,
last time we
here's-
did Bert Kreischer's podcast, Bert's wife hated Ari, or may still.
We were talking about Ari before the podcast, that all of our friends that got fuck you money, Ari said fuck you the hardest.
Yeah.
Like he does what he wants to do.
It's amazing.
It's fucking beautiful, man.
Every day that I'm running around, he's like, "You want to get Indonesian food at a place somewhere?"
Yeah.
Like, I have to do it.
Like
I have
Ari
to
will go
work.
to an escape room in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
Like he's like playful. I think it's like as kids we're all trying to grow up and make money and do what we do. But I think the idea is we're all supposed to be playing. This is why I'm joking when I say this like a dude Disneyland. But you come in here and you create an environment to play every day, and that's success to me, right? You get to do what you want to do every single day, play with the toys you want to play with, hang out with the people you want to play with.
And
So-
I think everyone thinks, like, when you don't have money, you think when you get money, yeah, that's what I'll be like. But then I've watched so many people who do get money, and then they're like, yeah, but got to have retirement money, got to make sure I have this, got to make sure I do that. You know what I mean? And that, like,
Sure.
Ari just lives the way you thought you would have before you had it.
Yeah, he's not like flashy either. Like he won't even buy a new car. That fuck.
He doesn't
Get
own an
yourself
apartment. He
a
rents.
car.
He's got a flip phone.
Yeah.
He's like
Yeah,
a
but
minimalist
that's because of his
almost.
addiction. he's definitely a minimalist for sure. But the flip phone's a decision because he was like he sees. He's a very smart guy. He's looking around at all these other people with their cell phones, looking at himself, and he's like, oh, that thing's just stealing your time, and you're addicted to it. Everyone's addicted
Yeah,
to their phone.
I definitely am.
I'm definitely addicted to my phone.
But the bad thing is then Ari will just text me a Googleable question
Yeah.
every now and then. Like he'll just like what's the weather in Philly or something, and you're like, Ari, this is. He said he mixes it up between his friends so it doesn't get too annoying to any one person.
Smart.
Yeah,
I like
good
that he
way
wants
to
to
handle
listen,
it.
but what's funny is if he has to listen to music, he has to carry around like an extra large iPad. to hold his like headphones. So that's
Does he
hilarious.
really?
Oh yeah,
That's hilarious.
he's got an iPad in the back of his pants, like
Yeah.
a fucking like a gun.
He like inspired. I would have my cell phone out like at a comedy club looking at it, and Ari would literally come and take his hand and put it over the phone and be like, "Dude, what are you doing? Stop. Hang out, talk to us." And it kind of inspired. It made me self-conscious around other people doing it. And now every time I see people doing it, I sort of judge them now.
Yeah.
And it really is true. I mean, people live in their cell phone every single day, and you lose the connection. It sends a message like, "Fuck you, dude. This person over here is more important than the person that's sitting right in front of me."
Well, it's just the phone. That light is addictive. It's just addictive. Looking at the images, it's like, you know what happens when a little kid sees a TV? You ever see that? Little kid walks in a room with a TV and a commercial's going on. The kid is like this, just staring at it. Because it fucks with the way you take in, like, visual information. There's nothing like that in the wild. There's nothing like a big screen TV in the wild, right? Like that image of Super Bowl on a big screen TV in HD, and you're like, holy shit, and you look at all the green, look at all the guys running around, smashing into each other. It's intense. You don't get that in a real life thing unless you're about to get eaten.
Yeah, we've evolved to take that seriously.
Yeah.
Like we've evolved
Yeah.
to like see that and treat it
What
like it's
is that?
happening.
Like
yeah.
this is a big cat running at you or something, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is. Like, but it's on your phone, and you're watching YouTube videos. Like, look at all that shit moving around on my phone. And
Well,
look,
also like the kill time of it too, where my chick pointed out the other day, if we ever sit down at a restaurant, like they'll take food to go and sit down, how quickly I pull out, like, all right, we're playing
instantly.
Family Feud.
Yeah.
Like, so it's not even just pulling back into my phone, but
Right.
it's still part of like let's do something.
Right.
Does anybody have a topic? No?
Well,
All right, then
right.
let's just play Family Feud.
It gives you like give yourself ADD in a weird way.
Yes.
You make it even worse. And I live in New York City. We all do, and like they started doing like little signs in the subway that let you know how long it is before the subway is going to come, and that's pretty new. When I first moved there in 2001, you would just go and be like, dude, I might be here for 30 minutes. I might be here for 2 minutes. Who knows when the next subway is going to come? But now if a subway sign is broken, I can't wait on that platform. I've got to get up and leave and get a taxi or whatever because I'll lose my mind just wondering when that cab is going to come.
whereas before you would just chill out and wait.
Yeah, because you had to. You didn't have the option to. So now I feel like you have that option to be on your phone at all times, distract yourself. I used to take a shit and, I used to have a bathroom reader. It was my favorite thing in the world. It was little facts, like thousands of them in this fat book that it was covered in shit stains everywhere. But it was a fucking book you had in the bathroom, and it was called Uncle John's Bathroom Reader, and it was just basically Snapple facts about everything in the world, and they had like 20 editions, and it was the coolest thing in the world. But now you have your cell phone, so you don't need it.
Right, but how do you, there's like certain shit you want to know that's going on in the world. So how do you check in on that? Do you just do it from a computer? Or like when you want to read the news? Like, I don't know, how do you get your news?
Oh, I'm on the laptop
Dave?
and on the phone all the time. And and then I just tell these guys what they need to know.
Yeah,
I says
he fills us
You
in.
just go get it straight from Dave.
Trump, bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm on.
Rand Paul, decent guy.
Everyone bad. Really come down to it.
Taxes are theft.
You guys,
Do you know that there's very few legit comics who are as knowledgeable? I mean, you guys have Dave's a very valuable resource when it
Very
comes to
much so.
really
Yeah.
We make fun of him, but
understanding.
yeah, he's brilliant. Dave's he's like literally the only person that I know that actually reads the books, puts in the time in. And it's kind of funny. We say, where would people get their news? They don't really get their news. They read the headline and then they act like they're getting their fucking news. They're not putting in the time. They're not reading the books. They're not actually going and reading a real newspaper or reading,
That shit
legitimate.
fucking pisses. What pisses me off about politics, I feel like it's the only thing where, like, if Lewis doesn't watch basketball at all, and Jay watches every single Sixers game,
I do.
and then there's
I
like
do.
a thing coming up where like something about a basketball game, Lewis won't just like start arguing with you like, no, they need to play this defense, they need to go into a zone, because you're like, yeah, I don't really know about that. But for some reason with politics, no matter how much anybody's not read anything, they don't know anything, they have no problem just having a hardcore, strong opinion. Like,
It's because also you know about it. Right, so when someone's like super argumentative about it, like, oh, you're not even well informed.
Yeah.
Which is most of the case with people that are really super aggressive about it.
It seems like, I mean, dude, when they had this thing where they were interviewing people, at the fucking March for Life, I think they called it, the gun control march. At Fieldhouse
Field just now?
Well, no, they were like all over. It was in a bunch of different cities. It happened on the same day. We saw it, but it happened in a bunch of different cities. I think the big ones were in like D.C., and I think there was one out here. And but there was this guy just interviewing people, and he'd go around and ask them if they are for an assault weapons ban, and they'd be like, yes, and then he'd go, what's an assault weapon?
Right.
And it's amazing how many people just didn't know. Now, I'm not even, whatever your take on an assault weapon ban is, it's like, how could you be for banning something that you can't even define? That just seems bananas.
Right, but they know.
But hold on a second. Yeah, exactly. Like they know that this is what it does. They know it's a rifle that shoots people. It's like a semi-automatic. It's not a hunting gun. It's a rifle that's designed to shoot people, like in a military situation. That's what it looks like. So they're wrong. I mean, like they don't know what an AR-15 versus an AR or whatever versus like what's legal, what's semi-automatic. They don't know all the details, but they do know that these are guns that you kill people with.
Okay, sure, fair enough. But I feel like there's like a thing where they'll be like, well, I'm for a ban on semi-automatic weapons. And they'll be like, so you want to ban handguns too? And they're like, no, we don't want to ban handguns.
Right.
And you're like, but lots of handguns are semi-automatic weapons. It's just like, if you're going to protest, read a book on it. It's not just having a passive opinion. You're like out marching.
No, I think they want to, they want to move the ball down the field though, and the more people that come out, they have kids literally, kids that are in the 5th grade walking out of their classrooms. They don't fucking know what they're talking about or what they're doing there.
Yeah.
Hey man, sometimes there's a girl with armpit hair you want to fuck. You know what I mean?
Or how many of these people?
Gotta throw in a couple of opinions you don't mean.
Yeah, that's true. Or dirty, hairy feet. Those girls with the hairy toes. But how many of these kids, this is a big one, how many of these kids are against putting kids on psychotropic drugs?
Yeah.
Putting kids on unnecessary psychiatric medications. Parents dope their kids up all the time because they don't want to deal with some hyperactive kid. Some kid who's got some fucking power, some energy. He wants to bounce off the walls.
We were in Brea the other day, right before the show we did, and there was a kid, the kid must have had autism or something, or some extreme case of it, but he was like, he was having some sort of violent episode, I'm assuming, but it was just a dad, like calm as day, just sitting on a corner with his kid, with the kid face down, as the kid's like screaming and shaking and kicking his arms and legs, and then I was just holding the kid down, and it was so hard to, like I almost wanted to say something, like I didn't know, they don't ever really like tell you what to do, like what's going on in that situation, and I kind of watched it for a minute because it looked like he was abusing the kid for a second, but then you kind of realize after, like, oh, this kid was gonna like hurt himself or whatever it was, but that's like a really, really hard thing.
Yeah, I can accept more in the real extreme cases where kids are like severe problems, but it seems like they're just happy to like anyone's like hyperactive, just this kind of loose thing. Give them Adderall.
It's not a 1 or a 0, right? It's like there's varying stages of issues that kids are going to have, and some kids are going to need some kind of medication, but they're definitely overprescribing. Definitely, I knew my neighbor had a kid. There was nothing wrong with him. It's just a fucking kid, and they put him on Ritalin. Yeah,
like you take Adderall as an adult. Adderall's a drug, man.
Yeah,
like that's
Ritalin.
Yeah, it's not a joke.
I give it to my 5-year-old. We snort it together.
It's just if people don't get enough attention or they don't have an outlet and they don't know what to do with themselves, they get wacky. It doesn't mean you need to give them drugs.
Yeah.
Some of these people have legitimate issues and they probably do need medication. And some of these people just need to find something that's interesting in life.
Yeah, well, I think on what you were saying before about like why don't these kids look into that stuff? I think a lot of times it's just like people want the simple thing, and you got to actually. This is a really difficult question to get into this stuff. Whereas if you're just like, oh, I'm against guns, that's easy. I think it's the same thing as when people are just offended. It's like you don't really have to like read a lot. You don't have to know a lot. It's just easy to be right, and you've got the answer.
Yeah, it's laziness. People can just pick a side very easily and go, cool, everyone's already defined what's on that side. So, yeah, I'm on that side. Look, I did my work, right? And it's the same thing with being a parent. A lot of parents are really lazy, and you watch it happen when they give their kid an iPad or put them in front of the computer. That whole thing just happened with ElsaGate, which was, borderline hilarious, that parents were getting trolled into their kids watching really fucked up like cartoons and shit.
Yeah, ElsaGate, I forgot the name of it. That's the name of it. Yeah, that was crazy. We've talked about that a bunch of times, about the babies with the broken bottles over their head.
So fucked
They kept having the same scene would play out. Kids would get drunk, whether they were kid mice or kid ducks, or they would get drunk. A bottle would go flying through the air and hit the baby in the head, and blood would be everywhere.
Yeah, it was like a baby's nightmare.
Dude, those videos were so crazy.
I know.
crazy.
And it was a
Directed by
punishment
baby David Lynch.
For it was a punishment for shitty parents who weren't watching, their kids and what they're putting on their TV. Because if you were just paying attention for a minute, I'm telling you right now, you have to stop paying attention for a couple hours for a kid to get there. So it was only really shitty parents that were dealing with that.
Is that really true?
Dude, yeah, there's no way to land on that just by Googling Spider-Man. That wasn't the first thing that was coming up. It was, I think they were like paying to get in like a loop of certain videos. Like I was obsessed with it for like a week and I just couldn't stop going onto that subreddit page. And it was freaky, dude. It was
Then he went back to
really
regular
freaky.
porn.
Yeah, there's Spider-Man ones and all these, and I think they took some of them down.
Yeah.
But then it gets to this place where you're like, okay, are you taking it down because it's targeting children? Or are you taking it down because you can't show cartoon babies getting hit in the head with bottles? Because if that's what you're saying, boy, there's a lot of fucking South Parks that you're not going to be able to show. There's a lot of different things you're not going to be able to show. So yeah, is the line because you think this is like creepy? And it's luring kids in versus just the act. If it was a funny, Tim and Eric sketch,
Sure,
and a cartoon baby got hit in the head with a bottle, you'd be like, "What the fuck? These guys are nuts." That's what you'd say, but you wouldn't be like saying this has got to be removed off of YouTube.
Yeah, it's hard to
the
actually
intention. It's like,
define
what's
it.
the intention of it?
Because you could easily say like, oh well, South Park is a cartoon,
Right.
so is that appealing to kids? But I think to Lewis's point, the solution isn't that this shit needs to be banned. The solution is just like let parents know.
It's
Like,
always,
you
by the
gotta
way,
be on
that's
top of
probably
that.
always the solution with
Yeah,
almost
really.
every single
Yeah.
thing we talk about. It's
What's
fucking.
the Lewis? What was the other one we watched?
Oh, the father. Yeah,
The father
yeah.
with the two kids, and it's really just creepy as shit.
Dude.
What happened?
All right, so this guy
There's another
was-
like one of those like that the kids are watching that if you watch it for a second, you're like, this is all fucked
They
up.
pulled it off. It was a dad and his channel. I'm sorry, I forget the name of the channel, but he had his two little girls who were probably 7 and 9 years old, and they were doing like just kind of weird shit, dude. They were like eating chocolate bars, and there'd be chocolate all over their face, and they'd make weird sounds, and they'd climb up like stairs, and they'd show it from like behind their butt, and it was very fucking pedophilic. I don't even know. It was fucked up, dude. And this guy's channel got taken down. The guy's like doing interviews, like, no, dude, whatever. And also millions of subscribers to the channel, making tons of money, paying for his house with this channel.
Whoa! And they shut the whole channel down.
Yeah.
And what did he say when they interviewed him?
I don't know. I read something when it was just kind of like, yeah, we're trying to get our channel back, and he was just like very innocent. There was another thing, the same.
I guess I'll fuck them on my own time.
I got to go to Vimeo. But the same, when we were talking about this stuff, there was moms. They were regular like mom bloggers, right? And they bring like their daughter to Kmart, right? This is the channel, by the way.
YouTube terminates Toy Freaks channel amid broader crackdown on disturbing kids content. Okay.
It is very like what Jay said. It's a very David Lynch type vibe. Like you feel like you're in some nightmare world where everyone's just acting not the right human way.
They had 8.5 million subscribers.
I mean, it's a sick ass.
They have one of those
cake.
gold plaques that you have.
Yeah, look at that shit. Amongst the top 100 most viewed channels on YouTube. That's incredible.
Hey, they
Wow.
all have pacifiers in their mouth. Dude, it's fucking bizarre. You
And
gotta see the videos.
they somehow got to that level before.
Can we watch some of this?
Yeah, I
We can't show it. We can't show it on TV. Can we watch it? Is there a way? We can not see it?
We're about to get raided.
You could what? You figured it out? Okay. Yeah, don't. But the problem is whenever we put something on YouTube that shouldn't be on YouTube, we get flagged.
No.
There was like mommy bloggers, and they would like have a video of them and their daughter going to like the supermarket, and there'd be like 500 views.
Yeah, don't do it, Jamie. If they, I was thinking if YouTube flags it.
I'm not planning. It's
Okay.
just for us to see it.
Oh, okay.
It's
So
on-
no one else
yeah,
could see
it's
it.
on another website.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Lewis. What?
Okay, so yeah, then they do another. The same mommy blogger would do one called Bath Time, and she's like bathing her 5-year-old, and it's not anything like more than her like sitting in the bathtub, but those videos were getting millions of views. And then the mom would like disable the comments and turn off the thumbs up and the thumbs downs. So they were just monetizing, pedophiles jerking off to their daughters in a bathtub. And
Jesus.
this is just like a whole subculture that was happening on YouTube that was sort of just nobody was really talking about it, and they kind of made it go away. It wasn't even a big deal.
So I'm watching this. It's not disturbing at all. It's just dumb. They're just eating weird food and getting like whipped cream and ice cream and cake and nachos all together.
Well, here's what happens, babies. This is really targeted toward babies. They like the colors. So what happened, like they see these flashing crazy colors, them unpackaging candy and cake and eating cake, and 2-year-olds love this shit. They keep on clicking on it. But pedophiles are also jerking off to these girls putting chocolate bananas in their mouths.
Oh,
so
right.
that was sort of the issue. So they got, the parents will subscribe to whatever because the kids, they want to put their kid in front of a TV and have the TV babysit them. But it was also another big part of the people who were watching this. You see the comments, and sometimes the comments were like encrypted and like in different languages, and they were using code words.
Oh, they're using that Pizzagate shit.
Dude, yeah, dude, it's all connected. It's fucking crazy.
Also, if you make a big complaint though about something you have to draw a conclusion to, it really makes it seem like you're the person thinking that.
You're like, come on, you don't think that's hot?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you wouldn't want to jerk off to this? Come on, we're all jerking off to this thing.
Yeah, who didn't jerk off to that little girl eating a chocolate banana?
Was that a Cheeto with sour cream on it? I'll jerk off to anybody eating that.
You're just in it for the food. You're like, get these kids out of here.
Oh, they have family. I didn't
When
notice.
do you say what can and can't be on TV though, or on video, or on when do you say?
They're going to.
We
one
have
day.
this, but I know, right? But who's they, right? Because we've all got this weird thing about free speech. Because if it wasn't for free speech, we wouldn't be able to do anything. Wouldn't be able to do podcasts. Wouldn't be able to do comedy. You'd get in trouble for everything. Look, it's very important to be able to express your ideas. But what if those ideas are? What if you're a pedophile? Like, what about that? Are you allowed to do pedophile anime? Like, where's the line, and why are we able to draw that line?
If I draw a dick right now, when I will
draw a dick.
Here's a dick. Now, if I say this is a 4-year-old's dick,
okay, there you go.
am I committing a crime?
Well,
we
let
got
me
a
just say
problem.
that 4-year-old's got a big dick.
He's got a giant dick.
It's not bad.
That
I saw a
4-year-old's
little
gonna be a
kid.
happy man.
It's okay.
saw
I'm
this-
gonna put a 4-year-old pussy around it, so it'll be fine.
Too soon.
Yeah, but you raise a
Yeah.
really good question. It's like, I think the way it's working now is it's kind of whatever YouTube decides or Facebook decides.
And
'cause-
culturally, we decide, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like they'll have these kind of like vague policy guidelines, but then you'll see some people violate it and it's not a problem. But if it's a message that they don't like, then that seems to be the one that gets taken off. I don't know, man. It's hard. I honestly, I would defend free speech toward anything. Like, I don't care what you're saying, unless
Yeah.
you're, like, inciting violence. Just legally speaking, I defend it like you got to be allowed to say anything, even if it's like, I want to fuck kids or something that's really disgusting like that. As long as you're not actually fucking kids, you're not doing anything.
What?
You got to have free
Do you think you should always employ your free ability for free speech, though? Like, sometimes you just don't. You know what I mean?
no, of
Yeah,
course. There's lots
not.
of things you shouldn't say.
Well, yeah, in the workplace, it's different. That's not like a park. Here's the thing. I think in our lifetime, there's going to be words that are banned that you're not going to be able to say in public spaces, like parks and shit like that.
Yeah.
You can't say parks?
You don't know say parks. Yeah, that's one of the words.
I gotta ask Jamie to Google something. What was that? The story recently where they were talking about child brides somewhere in some country, where they were trying to allow people to be married as young as 11, and that up until recently they could do that. They could be married as young as 11.
Pennsylvania.
It's a state.
Where is that? Is it a state? No.
Sierra Leone.
Is that what it is?
There's an article that just came up from yesterday.
Yes, that's it.
It's definitely happened in the States, too.
What age is it?
The article didn't pop up. I'm trying to see it.
See, what I'm trying to say is like this is obviously
There's actually another one for Missouri.
what's
Yeah.
Missouri.
2 hours ago, a bill to restrict child marriage in Missouri moves forward. It says.
Oh, I didn't see that one. Child marriage in Missouri.
Yeah, because
How old
people
are we
are
talking?
people are fighting for it. That like
Yeah.
my baby should be able to get married at 12 years
Yeah,
old.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
crazy.
Once you get married, nobody's
No,
even having
it's-
sex anymore. So
It's all the fucking parents' idea. It's not little kids clamoring to get married. Bill to restrict child marriage in Missouri moves forward. Whoa. How old? A 15-year-old. Wow. The only state that requires only signature of one parent for a 15-year-old to marry has made the state a popular destination for child brides. Wow. Oh
It's
my
like,
God. That is so
Bring your child bride
crazy.
to the best child bride getaway.
That's so
in all of
crazy.
Missouri.
Well, in Missouri's defense, that's the only time they've ever been referred to as a popular destination. So they're doing what they can to attract tourists.
Yeah, that's dark.
Yeah,
that's dark.
But that's those places where professions are like moss gathering and making
you-
some sort of sap juice.
You don't you can't marry a 15-year-old though. They can marry each other.
I'd imagine it's statutory rape,
Yeah, it
right?
would have to be.
Is that what
There was a state where male to female, the girl had to be 18, but male to male, the boy only had to be 13.
Whoa.
That's a little
was
bit
one
too
of the
big of a gap.
It was one of the states where they were sending
Overpopulated.
pedophiles. The Catholic Church was sending pedophiles. God, I want to say it's New Mexico. I think New Mexico had some super fucking squirrely laws. Hundreds of child brides in Arizona. Wow. Arizona has child brides?
There's
there was-
a bumfuck of every state.
I don't know how to Google this because I think that is one of those states. I want to say it's New Mexico, but it might not have been, where the male could be 18 or the male could be 13.
Man, Jamie's computer is just going to have the most fucked up search history after this.
I need a new computer after this.
Where can I find a 13-year-old boy to marry?
And what about male to female? Shouldn't that be different?
I
like,
kind of
like boy to girl, meaning like woman to 14-year-old kid.
I think it's kind of different.
It's
I don't
way
know. I don't-
different.
Like it's like the dogma of like there's no difference between the sexes or shit like that. If it is ridiculous, and then like I definitely don't think. I'm not saying it's cool, but when you hear about some hot chick teacher who is fucking her teenage students, I definitely don't look at that the same way that I look at some dude who's fucking his teenage. Like that's just a more fucked up.
The only thing that I
offense.
look at it as like she's a little bit more fucked up because I don't ever talk to women that are like, oh, young dude, that's what I'm into. And you talk to every dude behind the scenes like, oh yeah, 19-year-old chick, that'd be hot. You know,
She's definitely fucked up, but those
Yeah.
women play very important roles in taking a young man's hand and leading him down the road of sexuality. It's not like I got molested by a 21-year-old when I was 13. She was hot and it was great. Period.
that's
But
like a
molested.
fucking,
Me, she
yeah, that's
grabbed
what it
my
is.
dick. She made out with me, like the whole deal. I couldn't get a hard on. I was in full panic. I couldn't
What
believe
was
I was
the-
making out with this lady.
What was she babysitting you?
No, she lived down the street. Nice person. She played softball with us and fucked a
That's what
bunch
you
of
called
us.
it?
Fucked a bunch of us.
Whoa.
And she was 21. And the thing is, man, she was pretty. It was weird.
She was fucked when she was a kid, I think.
Could be.
I think it's always passed down from another generation.
No, you're probably
Yeah.
right. You know, whatever
Like,
it
thank
was.
your dad for
she
me.
was very nice. She was very nice.
Your dad.
Yeah.
Your dad for me, kid.
She was a fun person. Like she was fun to be around. We all liked her, but she fucked everybody.
Yeah.
So that's
You
what
lost
I'm
your
saying.
virginity to
though.
her?
No, I didn't. No, she just grabbed my dick. Like I said, I couldn't even get it up. I panicked.
But
I didn't. I mean, I didn't even know what getting it up was. Like I think she was the first person I ever kissed.
You didn't come back around to her though later to see where you
No,
stacked up in
we
the hood.
moved. We moved. We wound up moving to the next year, and I went to high school in a different part of town.
I was already jerking off for years at that point, so getting it up, like I was literally jerking off from when I was like 9 or 8.
That's hilarious. You started jerking off at 9?
Yeah, I talk about it in my act. I used to hump teddy bears and like my pillows.
Is that the same as jerking off though? Because I
See, I
did
don't
that
think
too.
so. I
I
think
would
a lot
no,
of
but then
people-
I would use my hand probably when I
okay.
was like 10, and I remember, I remember the transition of not coming anything to when I actually shot a liquid, and it was like I graduated in masturbation.
Yeah.
you know, because I'd watched porn at that point.
But it's like an 8th grade graduation. It's not the real graduated
Yeah.
shit. It's just kind of like, we're trying to make him feel good about himself. So
Yeah.
we
I
give him a
didn't
thing.
jerk off until after I'd had sex.
No,
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't start jerking off until after I had sex.
And
I
how
have
old?
no idea why. Either somewhere between 15 and 16. It might have been 16. It might have been 15. I'm not sure.
And then you were like, I want to feel this again. I don't have time to find a chick
No,
every
the
time.
thing is, like, when I started jerking off, I went, oh, like this is what's going on. Like I'm a junkie. Like my body is like completely addicted to the idea of girls. Right? You're 17 years old or whatever the fuck I was, 15 years old. Your body is just like girls. But if you jerk off, it's like, oh, it's just people. Like, without this need for coming, like then you like them based on their merits, their
Yeah.
their
Wait a
friendship,
second, this hole's
their
got a job?
personality. But if you just I realized that literally when I was like 16 years old. If I just jerked off, like what I was willing to tolerate was so much less.
we'll do when you go. We were talking about the sex robots before, and if we kind of got off on it, if pedophiles should be able to fuck them, and you kind of think about that, dude. They have that built-up pedophile full balls walking around, dude, just seeing kids at
but
the
are we
park.
just giving up on them? There's no way to fix that.
I think they're disease. I think there's like a sickness. I don't know if you could like. I don't know if you're gonna be able to fix them. I think when
Well,
you
do
know
chemical castration, shit like that.
that's
I
like
don't-
crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what there are people that have this inclination that would never act on it out of ethics. and morals. They don't want to fuck anybody up, which is also crazy. It's like, wow. Okay, so it's like some
we
guy who's got a
actively wanna-
nuclear suitcase. He's just walking around neighborhoods, just ready to detonate buildings, and we just trust that he's never going to use it.
Right.
It's a weird thing to want.
Or if you can give him like a weird video game, like your hunting video game, and he can just blow up a building with a suitcase once in a while.
But here's the thing: like, if he doesn't do anything, he's not a criminal. Like, if he has this thing and he fights this demon every day and he successfully slays it every day, who are we to come in and say you shouldn't have these thoughts?
No, if anything, I look at that as probably it's somebody who is like abused as a child, has had a horrible life, and isn't harming anybody else. You almost kind of are like, honestly, it's
Chemical castration.
We gotta find. We have to find
Feed them to wolves.
We gotta find the Dexter of terrorists. A terrorist who only terrorizes terrorists.
He's a pedophile who only goes after like evil kids.
Kids who deserve to be molested.
Quantum, and then he can leap to another city, like Quantum Leap.
What a crazy sickness that you can implant in someone's mind, that if you can molest them, they will want to molest others.
Vampires.
And that, yeah. I mean, it really is like a vampire thing.
Do not invite a pedophile into your home.
Dude, it probably is where it comes from, right? Like stealing your joy, sucking the life out of your family while some guy fucks your kids.
Just being violent in general, I think, is like that. I think most people who are like not violent in like the criminal sense, not in like, being like in martial arts or something like that, but like people who like, assault and kill and fucking shit like that. It's like, I think 99% of the time they were fucking beaten as a child. They had all that shit in their
the
lifetime.
bully always has a dad who kicks his ass type thing.
Oh, yeah.
But those guys can go play a video game where they shoot people in the fucking head and they get off on that, and pedophiles don't have that same type of outlet that those guys have.
Yeah, that's true.
Interesting. It's
But
true. It's
I
like,
know,
isn't it? I'm sorry. So we look at pedophiles as almost being worse than murder.
Yeah.
Right. Like somebody who wants to commit murder, we understand.
It kind of is worse than murder in a weird way. I got a 5-year-old. I'm telling you right now, dude. Like, is it worse than somebody killing him? It's
no.
but don't make it him. Make it
it's
just
still
a dude.
Crazy.
Like if someone just killed, like if someone has a
Stop
dispute
dressing him
in
so
their-
sexy.
That's a fair piece of advice.
You blue-haired son of a bitch.
It's like, who is making the sexy clothes for 5-year-olds, by the way?
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah,
write a
we
letter to
should
that
have
company.
Have you guys
for
ever been
days.
to a one of those beauty pageants
Never been to
for
one.
little tiny kids?
what?
No,
I've
I've seen like
watched
the
them.
videos online.
Me
and
and
shit.
Diaz and Duncan were in Dallas once.
Oh, boy.
And we were working at the Addison Improv, and while we were in Dallas, in our hotel, they had this childhood beauty pageant. It was the craziest shit you've ever seen in your life. I'm talking about like 5-year-olds with full makeup and like dresses. Like they're dressed like a woman with high heels. They're walking around in high heels, these little tiny kids. I mean high fucking heels, like come fuck me pumps. Like it's crazy looking at them, and you're looking at these like super dolled up. And that's essentially the John Benet Ramsey story, right? When John Benet Ramsey, when they did an autopsy on her, they found out that she had been sexually active. Yes, and she was what, 7 or something
She had
like
calluses
that.
on
How
her
old
palms?
was she when they killed her? It was something like 7. They
7
don't
or
even
8,
know
yeah.
who killed her. Some say it was the dad. Some say it was someone else.
The brother looks
The brother
weird for it.
sued. He said that story's horseshit. He's like, you guys are monsters. My sister was fucking killed, and you're blaming me, and I didn't do a goddamn thing.
Well, he should really be upset at God because it doesn't look more like a guy who fucked and killed his sister.
Does he?
Yeah, he's odd looking for sure.
Poor bastard. Imagine growing up your whole life knowing that someone fucked and killed your sister.
Yeah, he's got crazy big eyes. Yeah, no,
I mean,
I'm
imagine.
sure.
He's probably jealous too because they give her more attention the whole time. It's like Marsha.
Up to the end.
Yeah.
My favorite theory is the brother did it by accident, and the parents tried to cover it up. But that's just my favorite documentary answer.
They connected the handwriting. They were trying to connect the handwriting of the ransom note or whatever the fuck it was. Whatever note was left behind. There was a note left behind.
Yep.
And they said it was really similar to the mother's handwriting. But I don't think they made a conclusive decision about that. But that's like, what if you have normal handwriting, somebody else has normal handwriting, and they kill your kid? And now people think you killed your kid because you write normal.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're like, you got to defend the fact that you like put a little curve on the end of your R. And you're
How
like,
good
I
is
didn't-
that handwriting shit? I mean, is it that good?
Yeah, and then also you
think
can
so.
find a handwriting expert that if you pay them enough, they'll say that it's not.
sure.
That's
Right,
all like bullshit.
right.
It
I
depends
got-
on whoever you get.
But there's got to be some science behind it. There must be.
They
It's
just
also
did
the
the
way
whole
it's like
piece.
looped. If you ever like seen them
Yeah.
analyze, I've seen like on documentaries and like how they analyze it. It's like they loop it that way, the same way.
Yeah.
It's all at the same angles.
But they will use that in courts, right? But I don't think it's like substantial evidence. It's like polygraphs. Like there's some science to it, but it's not like you can't get convicted off that.
I
shit.
would believe anybody that passed a polygraph test. If
Look,
I
I
will,
think you'd see it up on the screen up there. There's John Benet Ramsey, John Ramsey's ransom note, and Patty Ramsey. And you watch how she writes, and you watch how Patsy Ramsey writes, and you're like, oh yeah, she didn't even try to hide it.
wow.
I mean, she writes the same way.
Yeah, the H's are the same. If you look at the
Look at
little
this-
hook on the end of the H.
Yeah, well, look at the size of the A's and the C's. They're very, very uniform in size from hers to the ransom note, but very different than John's. Like it's her handwriting. Like now I see it.
She
It's like
killed
if you
her.
just have those words. Well,
We solved it.
It looks. I mean, it really, really looks like she wrote that note.
So the Patsy Ramsey ransom note in the middle is the one where she said, "Look, it's not my handwriting." Right? Is that what they're saying?
Yes, they
Like-
made her write the
She's
ransom
like, look,
note.
I don't write like that. Started like
They made
stabbing
her-
the paper
yeah.
with a pen. I don't even know what you're
She
talking
headbutted
about.
the sheet of paper.
Yeah, they said, here's some words. We'd like you to write them out. And she wrote them out pretty much exactly the same way. I mean, she didn't even try to hide it.
Or what if you
That
really
is
can't just like,
crazy, dude.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Now I get it. Okay, so there, I mean, I'm sure if we had an expert in here, he'd explain that there's some sort of a science behind it.
Yeah.
That house, I lived in Boulder 9 fucking years ago, and that house is still for sale.
Oh,
They
yeah.
can't sell it. It's a nice house. They can't sell that house.
Not
They
even like-
changed the name of the street, dude.
Like Trent Reznor or Marilyn Manson doesn't want to buy it. Didn't you get like rock stars or like really weird, like eccentric
Yeah.
people that want to like have something like that?
No, nobody wants to buy a house where a kid was killed.
Good enough deal. How expensive is it?
It's a good deal. Not a great deal. But it's a good deal. But you might be able to negotiate down to a great
people
deal.
buy the Tate House.
I see your podcast studio. I'm like, dude, I might buy that. buy that house.
I know. You imagine a crazy fuck. Like you're on the middle of the show, and you see like things behind you moving around, ghosts. You know, that's the thing about the Comedy Store podcast. Down that basement, like millions of people have been killed in that basement. You know how many fucking people? That was like Bugsy Siegel's place. That was Ciro's nightclub. So like for sure, if you're gonna kill somebody, you kill them in the basement, right?
Yeah.
How many guys do you think they killed in that basement? Bugsy Siegel with a nightclub on Sunset. For sure, a gang of people got
I think
killed.
there's probably a bunch of people killed since it's been the Comedy Store.
Well, there's probably been. Well, we know there's one. That
There
one
was one
murder
shooting.
that took place
In the
front
basement?
patio.
Oh,
on
the front patio,
Yeah,
I was on my way there that night. That was crazy.
yeah.
Great alibi, Jay.
I was on my way. You know it.
I was on my way there.
Yeah.
Me and Luis Gomez.
Here's a picture of me holding a newspaper in a car near a street
Like
sign
this.
many miles away.
Like this.
Louis J. Gomez.
Just get it right for the press release.
Get it effing right. Yeah, I whenever some reason a documentary comes out about an old thing that I've heard 1,000 things about, I'll still watch them again. I've got way deep into Charles Manson again. But I was going to say, Charles
wow.
Manson people have bought those houses for sure.
Yeah, it's
The,
cool in a
the
weird
Amityville
way.
house is sold over and over again.
I'm telling you right now,
Yeah, that's true.
They haven't
Yeah.
marketed that fucking house the right way because they could get some weirdo to buy it.
I think
easily.
that Amityville horror house though is bullshit. Like nothing ever really happened there, right?
It depends on what
think-
documentary you. I mean, some people are like the whole thing's fake.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
it's
think-
probably all fake.
I think it's kind of bullshit. I think they just sort of concocted it for that movie. I went to see that movie. I was scared out of my fucking mind.
Yeah,
I was
of
thinking,
course.
oh my God, these people, they bought this house and it's haunted. Fuck, man. That sucks. What if that was us? Like when you were a little kid, you
Oh no,
believed
of
that
course.
shit.
But then you found out what based on true events means.
Yeah,
it was like
doesn't-
I heard a weird creak in the middle of the night, and like
Yeah.
bees came out of your toilet.
That is hilarious.
I'm gonna
grew
go ahead
up-
and change that. I'm gonna put that out. The bees came out. The wall started bleeding.
I grew up so poor that, like, just the idea of buying a house. I was watching those movies. I was like, I don't know. What do you want me to say, guys? I'm renting. We're on Section 8. I would fucking deal with the ghosts to own something. Yeah.
I know, right? Were you scared of a few ghosts? What have ghosts ever done? It never killed anybody.
Florida
Never,
doesn't
what
kill
happened to
people.
Fred? Oh, fucking ghost killed him. It's just like no one's ever died from a ghost.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
always like they moved a toy car like across a table or something like
Yeah.
that. I could get past that shit.
And people, I had my roommate back when I was like 21, my buddy Jimmy DiTilio. Me and him got a Ouija board once. We said, all right, we're gonna find out this is bullshit. And he's like, you're not gonna move it, right? And I go, I'm not gonna move it. I go, you're not going to move it? He goes, I'm not going to move that fucking thing. He goes, we're going to find out if this is bullshit. And we sat around for like an hour and 45 minutes with this fucking stupid Ouija board, asking it questions, sitting there looking at each other, looking down the and it wasn't even budging. It wasn't even budging. At the end of it, my friend Jimmy, he folds everything up, stuffs it in a garbage bag, goes, I'm taking this piece of shit out to the trash right now. Fuck this. Because, I mean, people convince themselves of everything. You know, they'll start moving that thing like, oh my God, it's going to the A. I can't believe it's and the N and the D. It's telling us something. Andy from beyond the grave. Oh, Andy's calling us.
It's like the same shit as that fake martial arts where they're using air to fucking knock you down. They all just convince that it's the same shit.
Do you think the people that that prey on them are predators? Do you think like the people who go, I'm talking to
They're
your...
idiots too. That's the problem.
Are they idiots or are they pieces of shit?
They're both. You got pieces of shit that some of them are just con artists. Some of them are idiots who are as fooled by it as what they're teaching. There's a lot of those.
that's Sylvia Brown. Wasn't she the one that told the girls they found in Cleveland, like told one of her parents, like she's moved on to a better place now, and
right, yeah,
they had stop looking for your daughter was dead and she was in a fucking ad. That's crazy.
Yeah, well,
she made them stop looking for her.
How different is that than religion, though? So I can sit there and the person that's doing that on a dumb fucking stage.
It's more personal.
Yeah,
because religion, you are basically you're projecting these ancient stories, right? That's what you're doing. You're giving lessons in these ancient stories. But when you're actually doing it to a single person, that seems way worse, right?
Yeah, it's very focused. And also religion, people get... there are good intentions sometimes to people doing it. That's want to follow tradition and stuff, or you grow up that way and you just kind of like... But I mean, no, that's predatory.
There's
You're
a
looking
lot
for
of
someone to make
good
money
shit.
by exploiting like the worst possible thing about their life. That's
In terms
crazy.
of, is it truth? They're both equally probably, like bullshit. But one is directly targeting and fucking with somebody.
and religion's also probably killed millions and millions and millions of people, and these people are just fucking duping a few idiots out of their money.
They're duping a lot of
fair point.
idiots, but those idiots deserve to be duped. I mean, look, wounded antelope should not go to the water hole. That's just how it goes. You get jacked.
Everything is an antelope analogy with you, Joe.
Well, these are dumbasses.
It always works.
They're supposed to get taken out.
Did you watch the documentary An Honest Liar about the amazing Randy?
Yes.
Who would go pick apart those like televangelists and like interrupt their frequency and expose their tricks?
Well, he's one of
He
the...
just tried to end Uri Geller. He just tried to end him.
That's
Yeah.
a leap
Peter
of faith
Popoff.
with Steve Martin. That's the entire plot. It
Yeah,
really is.
Yeah, no, I know. It's all based off of it. So they intercept that signal. But he did it with a lot of things. Uri Geller, the bending spoons guy, like, made him go away for about 20 years.
Well, he's got this $1 million challenge. And I believe... So look up the Randy Challenge. It's to show him any evidence of any sort of telekinetic powers or psychic abilities, any measurable psychic abilities, and you can win $1 million. Because nobody can show shit.
Well, he did a thing. He did a study, I believe, at Princeton University. They gave him all this money to have these guys come, and he hired 3 other magicians, and it was to have them come sit there for days and try to figure out how to do this crazy telekinetic thing. And then they ended up doing it, and there was a big press conference, and he was like, "They're all magicians. There's no telekinesis." He goes, and he just showed it was a trick they all did, and they got like, and he got in a lot of trouble for that.
Some of those guys are fucking incredible. When I did that show, Joe Rogan Questions Everything, we did an episode on psychics, and we got this guy named Banachek, and he's a Vegas magician. He's a wizard, dude. He does all the spoon bending shit in front of you, and you know what it is, man? I mean, he didn't explain it to me. I had to go and Google it. It's not really the same metal. It's some metal that if you just heat it up by moving your hands back and forth, it just bends.
I used to want to be a magician as a kid. I really did. And if you take like a cheap enough spoon and you literally just you could bend it like a few times and it'll just look straight. That's one of the tricks where you'll just use your finger and you make it melt away.
But this is a very specific kind of metal that you can do this to. It's like, how aluminum is like super weak.
Right.
Like in some forms, not like car frame forms, but in some forms, not alloys. But aluminum, it's like it scratches easier. It's like there's metals that are like, or lead I was thinking of. lead scratches easier. It's like it's the kind of metal that's pliable. You can bite into a gold coin, right? You can actually see teeth marks. That's how people knew that gold was real. This shit, you just rub your fingers and it just droops. It just gives in.
I spent like
You imagine- go ahead.
No, you.
No, you mind.
Dude, if
Get
you
over here
I
and
think you guys
mouth-kiss
are
me.
handling this remarkably well for 4 microphones.
Legion of Skanks podcast, that would have never happened in a million years. It would just sort of us screaming at each other, calling each other faggot for the next 5 minutes.
We're on our best behavior right now.
We're being so
That's so
respectful right now.
ridiculous.
You have no
Wow.
idea.
This is
us
respect you guys, too.
This is Church Sunday for
Yeah.
us. We're-
After you, faggots first.
Okay. No, I'm just saying, can you imagine, like, pre-science, how much people got freaked out by people who, like, knew magic or knew, like, some type of sleight of hand like that when you can't fucking Google. You can't Google that, there's a different type of metal that you can burn, and they're just like, he is communicating with the gods. There's no other answer.
Chris Angel's the
1700.
Messiah. Are you ready?
Well, those people that know how to ask you questions that are leading you into telling them the answers,
Right.
Like those people. There's techniques to that. You know, I talked to Penn Jillette about that once, and he was explaining to me how when someone talks to you, they get you to give them the answer, and then they say the answer, and it makes them look like a wizard. But they've gone through these patterns so many times. I mean, how many people have problems with their dad? How many people have a brother that died? How many people, they're like, there's someone missing. Who is it? Oh, it's my brother. Yes, I see, and this is not a good thing. No, he died in a car accident.
Right.
Yes, I see.
Yeah.
I see that he loves you and he misses you and he's very sad that he didn't get to say goodbye. And the guy starts crying. He doesn't, and then he comes home and he goes, dude, she knew about my brother. Like, no, you fucking dummy. You knew about your brother. If she was a psychic, she'd tell you about some shit that hasn't happened.
Yeah.
She's telling you about some shit you already know because you're a dumbass and you're playing checkers with a lady who's playing chess on you.
My friend who I stay with when I'm out here has a very good friend who's a psychic medium. He's a very nice guy, but she really wants to believe in him so much, and I'm fine. The way he does it is an entertaining thing. And she's like, you don't believe it at all? I go, here's why I don't believe it. If you had fucking powers, and then also, like, you go to Target because you need shampoo. I don't know. It seems like it would be like a burden to live with, the gift of magic powers.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, oh, yeah, I'll swing by McDonald's. I'm a little hungry for a snack.
Well,
I don't think this worlds don't collide.
It all stems from us walking around going, wouldn't it be much easier if I knew exactly what was going to happen and knew who these people, who's good and who's bad? Wouldn't that be better?
Yeah.
And everybody has that feeling, but nobody has those abilities. So you go on knowledge and instincts and life experience and you compile it all together. And some people are really good at it and some people suck at it. And the people that suck at it, they go to someone else for advice. And one of the ways they go to advice is that lady with the neon sign. Psychic. Oh, look at the palm. She must be a magician. And
I
you
was
go in
wondering, how
there
do
and
they
this
fucking
lady
afford rent?
fleeces you.
I see that in New York City. You'll walk down the street. There's a psychic who has a window, a storefront.
Yeah.
And it's a palm glowing in the
By
window.
my house.
And you're like,
A lot of them.
how are you affording the fucking rent here?
They get a bunch of suckers. And the one thing about suckers is if they're good, if you have a good connection with that sucker wants to come back next week.
Yeah.
The sucker wants to keep coming to you. Like, we have to discuss this. Can you be here Thursday?
It's also part of their job. They're
Thursday.
salespeople,
Thursday's
so-
no problem. And then this fucking dork, he's all excited about Thursday. On Thursday, the madam is going to tell me exactly what's going to happen in the future of my company. And this fucking dude should have gotten taken out by a hyena. A hyena should have clipped his ankles, dragged him into the bushes, and they all would have jumped out of nowhere and mauled this fucking asshole because he didn't listen to anybody. But no,
And
we
suckers
let
all
that
hang
pussy
out.
survive in this nerfed up world.
Yes, nature had an answer for
Yeah.
this guy, but then the one smart guy who was supposed to survive invented some shit and then told everyone else about it. And now these idiots
Yes.
have that invention. I remember like an old bit of yours where you touched on this. I really fucking love that joke where you're like, when you realize there's no such thing as adults.
Yeah.
Like everyone else.
That was a real moment with me.
Like, because people, but that's what it is that none of us really know what the fuck's going on. We all like to comfort ourselves by thinking we know what's going on. And then if someone else can convince you they kind of know what's going on, it's like we look for that. Like, we're like, oh, thank God, I found someone now. Now I know what's going on. But we're all full of shit.
Most people are followers. That's what it is.
Yes.
We
Very
should
few
look
people are
at
leaders.
psychics like we look at coyotes. They take out the dummies. They just they get into the system. They find cracks. They expose weakness.
And dummies hang out with
Yeah.
dummies, right?
Yeah.
So it's like
a
I'm
whole
sure
pattern.
the referral business in the psychic world is everything, dude.
Oh, and everybody wants to think that they have the person.
Yeah.
Oh my God, she is amazing. She knows so much about me.
She's 4'6".
First of all, when I knew her, when I walked in the room, she touched both my shoulders, and I knew her for my whole life. It's that incredible. She's that incredible. And they all want to convince themselves that this fucking crazy bitch that they keep paying money to isn't just lying to them.
That's right, because it's not just that you're being conned. It's like you're the accomplice in the con. You want the con, so you're helping. You're conning yourself also.
That's those kung fu videos. Those guys want to be conned by this touch. Ah! And the guy goes flying across the room. They want to be sucked into that.
Because there's something in it for you too. And you're working with this master.
I make the psychic. No problem, Dave. I always make the psychic do Oda Mae Brown, and I just pretend my ex-wife is dead, and I want to make love to her.
What's that one?
You remember from Ghost? Oda Mae Brown pretended to be Patrick Swayze, and they made out with Demi Moore.
Whoopi
Goldberg.
Boy.
But they wouldn't show Whoopi making out with. They showed them like leaning in, and then it turned into Patrick Swayze.
Which was weak shit.
That's weak shit.
We all want to
realistically, Whoopi Goldberg was fucking French and hard with Demi Moore.
Imagine making that movie today. How would they go about that?
Whoopi Goldberg now?
Yeah.
Nah, I'm too heavy.
It would just be all chicks. Patrick Swayze's a chick too. That's the reboot.
It's gay guys.
Ronda Rousey is Sam and Ghost.
Yeah. They could remake that movie. They probably will one day.
They definitely could. They could remake anything, it seems.
They're doing some shitty ones coming up soon. I'm trying to remember what they are, but there's some real, like, it's too soon. Why would you remake something that just happened?
Transformers for my liking. I'd like a few more of those, please.
Yeah, they really thought that was going to... It was so cool, the first one. When they made that truck turn into that fucking robot, it was the coolest thing I've ever seen on the
they're making some money. They're making some money because they keep coming out.
They're making a fucking shit ton of money. It's like when the Fast and the Furious 89 came out. You know, you're like, what? How many of they have?
It's a number one movie. They said, like, I've never watched more than 14 minutes of one of these movies. I have no idea.
Did you ever hear Vin Diesel talk about the movies with like the reverence, where he's like, we made a multicultural movie that showed races working together to get along.
Yeah.
You're like, dude, it's just about like bikini. It's Maxim magazine, man. It's fast cars and bikini tits.
They've made $1.163 billion.
Just the last one. That was just the last one.
Oh, just the last one.
Yeah.
Whoa,
oh my
wow.
God! And the budget was $250 million. Wow! So they made $750,000 solid.
What is the budget on? It's not even fucking crazy.
All right.
It's cars driving fast.
You got Ludacris.
Oh,
That's going to cost you $50 million out of the gates.
You must have a lot of special effects budget. That shit's expensive. You want to launch cars through the air? The stuff that they do is fucking insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much of it's CGI and how much of it they're really doing with cars, but as a person who loves muscle cars, it hurts my heart. Watching those cars get fucking launched through the air, I'm like, whoa! There's only so many of these. They only made so many 1969 Chargers, right?
You feel bad.
So they're destroying them.
Right, like the Dukes of Hazzard. How many fucking Chargers did they wreck for the Dukes of Hazzard? Launching them across a bridge, landing them nose down. You see the car bend, and they drive away like nothing's happening.
Yeah.
Isn't that how Lewis felt about Milo and Otis? Didn't they kill like 15 Milos?
Dude, it's so funny. That movie, do you remember the movie Milo and Otis?
Yes.
Okay.
I never saw it, though.
Pug-nosed pup, little orange cat, fucking great flick, dude. I gotta be honest with you, all right?
I don't think it holds up.
And
but
for the amount of pugs and kittens that died during the making of this film, you have to watch it because otherwise they died in vain. They took it was another movie that was made in like Japan or China or somewhere in Asia, and they didn't give a fuck. There was no laws on like how you treated cats and dogs in that country.
They didn't care how you treated humans back there.
Yeah, so there's like a scene where the dog is fighting off a bear, and this bear, I mean, they must have just went through 30 pugs with this bear scene alone, but there's no confirmed numbers of deaths, but there was like a bunch of
when you watch the
kittens.
movie, you're like, oh man, how did they get that dog to fight with that bear? And it's like, well, we lost like 300 dogs that day. That's how we did it.
Jesus Christ, really?
They fucking a bunch of them. There's a scene where he's in the water, like
in
swimming.
The box.
And they drown.
drowning
Like,
kittens.
just killing dogs.
8 of them right there.
How many dogs died?
We looked it up one time. I forget.
I think
it's
8.
a lot.
I know Dudley Moore narrated it though.
8 dogs
I think it was like
died?
8 in that scene.
Whoa,
Like the water scene.
Oh, Jesus Christ. That is so crazy. Holy
It's
shit.
a puppy. I'm looking at a elk's head behind you. Do you know how much more value that elk has than a puppy? Why do we put so much more value on a puppy's life versus that elk's life?
Because they're cute.
They're cute.
That's the answer.
They got cute privilege. But like, you'll swat the shit out of a mosquito.
Yeah, I
Even
only care
vegans.
about
Vegans
human.
will swat mosquitoes.
Yeah, that's a good point. And they'll kill plants, which are living, right? And I only care
Yeah.
about humans and dogs.
And
It's
elk
the only
won't,
lives I
and elk
value.
won't lick peanut butter off your
I
dick.
like cats too. I do enjoy cats.
I never liked cats, but then my girlfriend brought her mom's cat to live with us for a little bit, and I got attached to that fucking cat.
Fiancé.
All the other
yeah.
animals, I love them in the wild. I love them, and I just love them in their environment. I think it is a weird thing that we've gotten totally accustomed to. That you could just get out of this studio right now. You could drive 15, 20 minutes over to Panga Canyon, get out of your car, walk 300 yards into the woods, and you're just living with animals eating animals. You are basically in another dimension. There's eagles, and there's not too many eagles, but a lot of hawks that fly around. They're just constantly looking for some shit to jack, and if you're there at the right time, you can see it happen. You can see a coyote snatch a rabbit, or different animals just constantly looking for something else to eat. It's right there.
Yeah, we're so removed from it. Like,
But we're
if you
not,
want to
right?
be, like, well, you put yourself out there, like,
Yeah.
and that's a big difference between New York and L.A. Like, L.A. is like this city where there's like beautiful nature within it. New
Yeah.
York's like just the city, and then you got to leave to go to any beautiful
Right,
nature.
right.
So it's almost like you can be. But I mean, just the fact that you go to a grocery store, and my relationship with animals is like, there's a steak. Let me pick it up and buy it. And it's none of the like, oh, this came from fucking killing a cow. And then
You ever
someone
go to
cutting it up.
Malibu? You ever go to Malibu?
I
Yeah,
have, yeah.
once.
There's places in Malibu that are like ranches. Like Malibu is really long. I think it's something like 30-something miles of coast. And along the way, like up in the hill, there's like alpaca farms and shit like that. And that shit, you could just get in your car and then boom, you're in LA. And then get in your car and boom, you're in the alpaca farm.
That nature you're describing, though, scares the shit. Like, I'd have to do that in a hamster ball.
Oh no, they're gonna show the dog kill the
No, this is the
bear
movie,
killed
dude.
the
From the
dog.
movie.
This is from the movie.
From the movie. But they're actually having that bear kill that dog.
Yeah.
That is so crazy.
Well, in the movie, the dog fights off the bear.
I know, but that's so crazy that they allowed this.
You have to use 12 of them to get
That
through.
is so crazy.
I like you
Stunt
you
dog.
assume like you're just like, oh man, they must have had the best animal trainers. Like, nope, we threw a dog versus a bear until it worked out.
God, that's so crazy.
Yeah,
Imagine what the fucking pugs looked like too, after bears just ripped them apart.
The ones that live, they're like twitching.
My buddy John Dudley, saw a bear. He saw a grizzly bear kill a moose with one swat. He said he had never seen anything like it. He was looking through his binos and he saw this bear swat this moose in the back, and it just broke its back, and the moose just goes down. A moose.
Wow.
Moose are so big.
They're huge.
They're so big, man. And he said this grizzly just fucking swatted it, and they saw it happen. And that they're so powerful that swatting it in the back broke its back. And the thing went down, and then he's just ripping it apart.
One of my favorite pranks to play on my friends is I send them a video and I say, watch this
Look at that
deer.
shit. He's got a moose by the neck, just dragging it through the woods. Those fucking animals, dude. Everyone's looking for monsters. There's a goddamn monster. That thing just killed a moose.
Talking about Big J.
Dragged it through the woods.
Hey.
Hey, bear. One of my favorite pranks to play on people is I send them an email and I say, check out this video of this deer beating up this bear. And then there's a famous video of a bear just killing a deer in a backyard. And the deer is making the most awful, horrible sound you'll ever
I've
hear in
seen
your
that.
entire life.
And
And
Lewis goes, the deer makes a comeback. Wait for it.
yeah, I was like, wait for it.
And just gets people to watch the video.
And they just
thinking
watched
that the
2
deer's
minutes of
coming
this
back.
deer being mauled alive with the most horrible sound. And then I just let it go. That's the whole prank.
I was hoping there was like a dude's dick somewhere in there. Like it cuts too.
To be fair, most of Lewis's pranks do have a dude's dick in
Yeah.
it somewhere, but this one is just bear on deer.
Yeah.
That's how it goes. Bears are different than other animals in that they eat a lot of shit. They eat a lot of berries, eat a lot of plants, and they also eat animals, whatever they can
Fish.
get a hold of. So they don't kill the animal first. They're also real sturdy. They're not like a cat. Like cats are really powerful, but cats are like more flexible and pliable. A bear's more of just a fucking machine.
A bear's more of like cats are like Hoist Gracie. A bear's Dan Henderson.
Yeah.
And he's just coming in there throwing overhand rights.
Maybe even
patting people on the back.
Melvin Manhoof, just a powerhouse.
yeah.
Are you calling Dan Henderson
so
a hairy gay guy?
No. That's a different kind of bear, bro.
Oh, nature bears. You gotta say nature bears for me.
It's
Dude,
more,
don't
it's
try
like,
to get me in trouble with Dan Henderson.
I imagine more like Brock, because I remember when Frank Mir described Brock on top of him, he was like, it was like a car that was slowly moving onto him and he couldn't push it off. And you're like, you know, imagine a bear's on you. You're just like sitting there, like, dude, it's got my shoulder blade and it's just gnawing at my shoulder blade, and I know I'm gonna die.
Nothing you could do.
Holy fuck! Do you think the adrenaline would kick in where you wouldn't feel the pain, or do you think it would be the most horrible fucking?
You definitely wouldn't feel it. You would feel it. It would hurt, but you would be so terrified of death, and you'd be so overwhelmed with all these fucking neurochemicals would be flying through your synapses. You would be out of your mind.
You'd feel like the pressure
Yeah.
that it's happening. But
There would be so much adrenaline. You'd be in another dimension before you knew it.
Yeah,
That's probably the
God.
trigger.
that seems like the worst way to die.
There's a guy who got bit real bad and came back and had a video. He did a selfie and talked about what happened. He was just hiking down a trail, scouting, and he came across a female grizzly and her cubs, which is the worst
That's a bad
scenario.
one, yeah.
A male grizzly doesn't really, unless he's really old and it's really late in the season, usually they'll just get the fuck away from you. But the females will fuck you up. And this female fucked him up and tore his scalp right off of his skull. And he had it like packed down with a baseball hat, like try to hold it in place. And his arm snapped and he had big bite marks in his arm. But this guy was like a Montana dude, like, you know, Montana tough. So he's like, well, vitals are intact. Arm might be broken. I don't know what's going on up there, but hey, we're doing all right. But like, holy shit. Some fucking yoga teacher in LA would be like, I can't find my safe space. I can't find my safe. There he is. See,
Oh my
he
God.
packed down his head. The grizzly with two cubs, you could barely see, but the right side of his ear, his head is basically ripped apart.
I'll save my watch though.
He put the hat on to make himself like, you know.
Oh my Christ! Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah,
some
broke his
bitch
arm,
never got my daddy's
bit into
watch.
it. He drove himself to a hospital after walking 3 miles to his car. That's a fucking man!
I'll be damned if I'm not going to get the gosh darn best Facebook Live video out of this.
There's literally, look at the size of the hole in his
Oh
head.
my God.
Motherfucker, he's smiling in the picture.
Because he's a fucking Montana dude. They're different humans.
Do you remember the what's the
That's because
famous
Trump won.
the bear with the karate suit guy, and he just fucking knocks out the lady?
I think you have the joke about in one of
yeah.
your specials. You have a joke about that.
Yeah. Oh,
yes, you
The
did.
middle that he remembers that he's the
Yeah,
bear.
he goes, oh yeah, I'm a fucking bear.
He's got a party hat
And he
on.
just tears this bitch apart. It's horrible. And the other guy with the karate uniform is trying to get the bear off him. He just decided out of nowhere. Yeah, sure. He just decided out of nowhere that he was going to fuck that lady up. Just
Bubbles,
for-
Bubbles.
There was no-
Bubbles down.
And nobody
Yeah,
feels
there
that
was-
bad because you put a fucking party hat on that bear.
Yeah. What are
Yeah.
you trying to do, man? That ain't working.
Yeah, that's simple. Simple as that. I'm scared of animals, dude. Now that I have a kid too, like I won't
Look
bring
at
my
that. Here
kid
it
to
is.
his.
This is the video. I am karate. I have bear. Karate and bear go together. Bear sits down. Oh.
This is fun.
Who's this bitch?
Cock blocking whore. Look at the size of the thing. Like, look at the power in it when it grabs her.
Lunch.
Imagine how terrified she must have been. And everyone's slapping it, bitch slapping it. The host is even getting in there. Why would the host get in there? Are you crazy?
He's like, oh, I
Find
forgot
someone
to
with a
tell
gun.
you.
How about the dude's wrestling with the bear?
I
He's trying
forgot
to get
to
him his
tell you, he
guillotine.
likes only me.
That is a Russian.
Is that good technique?
That guy has to be Russian. Look at the power in his fucking guillotine. He's almost got the bear. He's almost got the bear out. Jesus Christ, this is so crazy. And the bear's still holding on to that person.
Yeah.
The bear's fucking that person up.
Also, not even the hardest day of her life in Russia.
Oh my God. She must have got fucked up by that bear, dude. I mean, really fucked up.
The bear didn't use great technique to get out of the guillotine, but he just kind of powered out of it.
The only thing that saved her life is that bear had a muzzle on.
I love that he looks at her like she said something offensive.
Boom.
Because-
You can't predict. And that's a brown bear. That's similar to a grizzly bear. It's probably the Russian version of a brown bear. They have big-ass bears over there.
Yeah, fuck that, dude.
Fuck bears, dude. I saw a real grizzly bear in the wild, and it wasn't that far away either. It was like 30, 40 yards, and looked me in the eyes, and I remember thinking, whoa, that's a different look.
He went, holy shit, that's Joe Rogan.
It wasn't even a big one. It was only like a 6-foot tall grizzly, which is not a big grizzly. But it looked at me, they looked through you. Like, what am I going to do? Am I going to eat you? What am I going to do? Is this safe? Is this safe? They have to, their brain's calculating.
Do you have a weapon on you, or you have a gun or a bow and arrow?
We had 2 shotguns and 2 bows and arrows.
But still, that'd probably take a while
Well,
to
2
take that
shotguns
thing
and
down.
1 bow and arrow.
I guess a shotgun might take him down.
Yes. It would take a while. Yeah, it's not that easy. It's a big animal. Even a 6-foot one is probably 300 pounds. I mean, it's a big animal, but it's the way they look at you that's different. Like I've seen black bears in the wild, and they look at you like, "What are you? What's going on over here? What's happening?" Grizzlies look right through you. They look right through you. It's a weird look. It's a weird, like, dead look. Like there's no fear of you at all. Like, what do I do here? They're just trying to figure out whether or not you're a meal. Yeah. They're just wandering. Imagine being a 300-pound animal that just has to wander around looking for shit to eat.
Welcome to the life of Big J. Okerson.
I was going to say, I swear to you, I was going to say, can you please stop describing
Right
this
here.
wild animals as dimensions I've been in my life? I mean, this is a fucking crazy bear. Like, you see this thing coming, run, because it will eat you, a human being.
300 pounds, if you can imagine.
That's coming at you. All you can do is put it down. Put it out of its goddamn misery, I
Imagine
say.
an animal 300 pounds that is hungry. Imagine it.
But no stores. Out there in the forest, looking for hunters that are slipping, looking for people with limps.
Yeah.
So it just like
Well, I was with my friend Jen. She's the guide, and she smacked a fucking tree with this stick. She picked up this stick and cracked this fucking tree and screamed. And I screamed, and we cocked our shotguns, and that thing took off.
Yeah.
they knew. Fuck.
Bitch ass bear.
Yeah.
Ain't shit.
We saw a couple of them. Saw one of them, we think, on the side of the road.
It's got to be terrible. I mean, even with the weapons, you're like, it's sort of on still, you know?
Yeah,
you don't know how many are out there, and
You have them out there, you know. They've seen ones way bigger than the ones I've seen.
Well, what about people that say this? They're like, it's always like the PETA people that are like, well, yeah, if you think you're a real man, how about this? We'll give you a knife and you go out there and then you try to hunt a bear. I almost feel like even if you have a gun, it's going to not be that easy to just go and fucking kill a bear.
But you know why all these people say that shit? Is because they don't understand what a bear really is.
Yeah.
Like, in their head, they feel like a bear is like some mythical creature who lives in the forest, who should be left alone. The problem is you can't just leave them alone because they're so powerful and they're so hungry and they eat so much that if there's nothing that keeps them in check, they're going to just run rampant and destroy all the deer and the moose and all those other things you like to look at as well. They're going to kill all of them. They're going to kill 50% of them.
They're going to
Planet
kill
of
all
the
those
Bears
deer and
doesn't
moose
sound
before
good.
you can kill them.
Yeah, well, you're also like, you want to keep the populations healthy. Like, it's very tricky. And humans are supposed to play a part in this. I mean, we don't like to think we play a part in it because we can communicate and we discuss things and we rationalize, we have culture, and those things are all correct. But we've always kept predators in check because when they start killing us, that means, oh, we have to do something now, and then we kill them. That's always been the case with villages and jaguars and people who live in towns and wolves. It's always been the case. There is a food chain. We're a part of it. We just have insulated ourselves from it with cities so thoroughly that we've forgot about this connection. So all these people that are PETA people, a good percentage of them are living in cities. You're talking about
Yes.
a culture that you don't understand. You're talking about a world that you idealize.
And when you say, like, we kept the predators in check, like, not nearly as well as we do now. We always tried to do it. And then after thousands of years of this struggle where we fucking got the upper hand and started dominating it, now it's easy to sit in a city and be like, you know, you read your kids these books about nature, and it's like, the frog made friends with the squirrel, and everything's just nice in nature.
Yeah.
We're the assholes. Like, people are the assholes because we pollute and we do this. And it's like, no, you know what's the real fucking asshole? Is the state of nature, where your fucking kid gets ripped apart by a fucking predator. That's like
Exactly.
the real, that's the shit you don't want to deal
where's
with.
that fucking lullaby?
You know what I think the answer is, man? I think the answer comes in the middle. That people have to realize, like, the real problem on the side of people that eat meat and people that think PETA people are ridiculous is factory farming. That's what's against us. The most horrific evidence is not in PETA's side. I mean, in terms of like something that they're accused of. The most horrific evidence by far is coming out of these factory farms. Like if you had to pick like which side, if you look at the two of them, like which side makes more sense?
Yeah.
Well, the PETA side makes way more sense than the fucking factory farm people. Both are extremists.
You see those videos where it's like Auschwitz of cows, and they're just
Dude,
fucking.
it's
Just
horrific.
ridiculous.
Tattooing numbers into their forearms.
Yeah, it's horrific. So I think if the meat eating population doesn't accept the fact that this is, it's not just, it should be impossible. It should be impossible for a civilized, healthy person to accept this as a reality for those animals. So the PETA people are right about that. They just, but the idea that you shouldn't be able to eat any animals, like, I don't agree. Because what are you going to do with all these animals? And the best way in terms of like health, the best way to live is eating animals. Eating animals and vegetables together seems to be the best way to exist. Seems to be. When you look at all these objective scientific studies that talk about nutrients in plants versus nutrients in animal products, it leans very heavily towards a diet that's rich in both of those things.
There's almost no people in the world that are fat that eat meat, vegetables, and fruit.
Jay's
just exclusively.
right here, dude. This is so fucked up. I mean, I know you guys
I
are
like
passive
meat.
aggressive at home, but can you leave that shit?
I like meat and vegetables and fruits.
Uh-oh, Joe, he's
I
getting
like all
angry.
those
Do you have your
things.
shotgun
I
ready?
like all those things.
But 6-foot son of a bitch is coming right at us.
Oh, shit. Jay's angry. I'm going to bang a stick on a tree. Guys, start yelling.
Yeah, man.
No, but you're right. And then it's also like there's some weird shit that happens to you when they go on those fucking vegan soy diets. Like Jamie Kilstein started eating meat again, and he's fucking making sense again, finally.
Well, he also tasted the wrath of his improper inclinations. I mean, improper meaning he wasn't being honest. He went along with his ideology because he was terrified of the repercussions of being against the stream. And, he saw, like, I've talked about Jamie 100 times on this podcast now after we did a podcast together because he's a way more normal person now. He's way more rational. Like when he was in that world, he was frantic, checking his Twitter constantly, like constantly arguing with people, calling people out on being a bigot or a racist. It's like you're always trying to get street cred for calling people out. You're always constantly checking your phone to see what horrible shit they've said back to you and whether or not that stings.
You're
And, like,
always in a battle, and that you almost get addicted to that. I quit. I literally stopped using Facebook like 6 months ago. I just deleted it because it was a lot of that. I don't really publicly battle as much on Twitter with dummies, but on Facebook, I was really getting into it with people for stupid shit. And I was just like, now that I don't do that at all, like just that weird, nasty, whatever vile feeling that gives you, that you live in and you get addicted to, you want to go back to it, it just feels so much better.
Yeah.
And Jamie was definitely a victim of that. But now you talk to him, because I had lunch with him before he even came back. We had lunch in LA, and he almost seemed broken, dude. He definitely seemed like he was beaten down and had been through some real fucking shit.
I
Well, he
think being
lost
a
his whole
social
industry.
I think being a social justice warrior is like exhausting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you have to be looking.
Caring is exhausting, period. If you care about anything, I gotta be honest with you guys. Either side, if you give a fuck that much, it's pretty.
No, I
is
know, but I mean, it
exhausting.
really is like when people get angry about, especially something like comedy. When people get angry about comedy, it's so like, wow, you've already through so many layers of things to actually be angry about, and then some other things you shouldn't be angry about to get to comedy.
They're almost always not successful or not as successful as they think they should be. Almost always. No one who's successful complains about comedy.
Yeah.
No one who's successful is pissed off that Kevin Hart has a fucking $50 million mansion. No
Right.
one. No
Yeah.
one. It's
That's
the
a great
people.
point.
You're absolutely right.
It's the people that aren't doing well.
And I think, and just kind of on a similar note, I think no one who's been through real shit in their life gives a fuck about microaggressions.
Yeah,
like it's literally
for
like a
sure.
privileged thing, and you don't have anything going on. That
Yeah.
you actually are taking this as like a major issue.
But you know what it also is? It's evidence that you're in competition with that person, and unnecessarily so, and that you're deeming them to be unworthy of their success, so you're getting angry, and you're lashing out. And it's entirely entirely because you feel like it's a race and you're so far behind the race. Like, fuck that guy, fucking Kevin Hart, or whatever it is. It's like whoever the fuck the person is that's way ahead of you.
Right.
Instead of just looking at it for what it is. Wow, that guy works hard. Holy
Well, if you're
shit,
successful at all in comedy, you go, oh, this is a really fucking fair thing. Either way, like whether you have the guys that have millions and millions of dollars, that's great. But if
you're successful in comedy.
Yeah.
But if you're a guy coming up, it's like, it's easy. I mean, how many times when you're around guys who are just starting out, would they talk crazy shit on some headliner they work with? Yeah, man, you couldn't even follow me, bro.
I'll tell you,
everybody in this room probably was guilty of doing that as a young comic.
Sure, 100%.
Oh my God, dude, I lived on that. Me and Dave on the phone.
So.
I got called on it by Keith Robinson, the comedian Keith Robinson. I called him the shit talk another comic, or say that a guy, some booker had called and said he liked me on the show, and he kept talking about me and another comic that he liked. This guy doesn't even do comedy anymore. But he kept acknowledging, he's like, oh, just you and that guy were my two favorites. I liked you two both. And eventually I was like, hey, man, I just think that guy's terrible. I was like, you keep saying us in the same thing. It's so weird. And I called my friend Keith Robinson to not brag, but almost be like, isn't this funny? He kept saying, I did this. Very young in comedy, and he was like, dude, don't ever fucking do that. He's like, it's not your job to take money out of someone's pocket, or just like slouch them, whatever. He goes, if they suck that much, people will find out, or maybe they'll get better or whatever. He's like, but it's not your job to like cut somebody else off the knees. And I took that soda. I was like, oh shit, I was a real asshole doing that.
Yeah, you don't even realize it. You get caught. I did that before too. You get caught up in what you think is a competition between you and all the other people that are trying to make it.
But there's a nice point when you get to at least where you're not miserably broke all the time, or you're in some at least path or lane of where you want to go. It's nice to be. It does change your appreciation for comedy. It brings it back again.
It brings it back.
Where you can just like somebody. You can like somebody who's funny, who's way younger than you.
Yeah.
You can like somebody who's funny, who's passing you. You can, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. You can just like.
Well, that was the thing that
enjoy
changed
looking.
you,
It's like,
Jay.
why them, not me? Why them, not me?
I watch you like laughing at like guitar acts. Where I think when we all came up in New York, there's like a thing
Sure,
like,
yeah,
fuck
yeah.
guitar acts with your dumb fucking hacky shit. And I'm watching you the other way, watching Rogan and
I love Jeremiah, man.
and just laughing your dick off because you let go after a little while ago. And it's not about your ego. It's about what's going to tickle you. There's no thought in it.
We've had this conversation a lot, and I said I think what New York lacks, that LA embraces much more, is the silly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's not enough like silly in New York. I feel like everyone's if you do something silly or even pull out a guitar for whatever reason on stage, I think there's not even a chance of like, maybe, wait, this might be like a uniquer guitar.
Yeah.
Who knows?
If you move around
just
on
go, it's
stage,
like,
people will like. I watched Sebastian Maniscalco in Vegas, and dude, I watched in that hour. I don't know Sebastian at all, but watching him for that hour, this is like a year ago, was the most I'd learned in comedy in a really, really long time. He's so physical, and like what he does with his body and his eyes, like he's making eye contact with almost everybody in the audience. And I was like, holy shit, dude. And he's got to really use that space. And I feel like in New York, if anybody was that physical, people would be like, what's this guy fucking doing?
Colin Quinn was saying this at Just for Laughs in 2013. He gave the keynote.
I have to pee so bad. I'm sorry. You guys talk.
Dude, you're going to come back, and this show's going to be off the fucking rails.
All right, Legion of Skanks takes over the Joe Rogan Experience.
All right, Jamie, I need you to pull up this baby raping video.
Let's go.
All right, Jamie, I'm going to need you to start pawning things off in the studio.
Jamie, can you look up pedophilia hot spots?
That's bookmarked.
And we really do have Joe Rogan's podcast for about 1 minute by ourselves, guys. We need to do something with it.
Oh, man, I feel like it's going good. What do you guys think?
We should have brought
Black
something.
porn. Black porn.
Just bring it up.
Yeah, just put it up in
It's
the
on
big screen.
YouTube.
Oh, remember one of the first episodes?
What's that? Which one?
Do you remember the name of it, Jay?
What, one of the first episodes of the Legion of Skanks podcast, which is available on gasdigitalnetwork.com. Get your
really?
plugs out, guys.
Oh, yeah, for subscribers. That's right, guys. Go subscribe to gasdigitalnetwork.com right now. Use the promo code LOS. You get a 14-day free trial. You get access to the entire archives, over 350 episodes on demand, whenever you guys want them, in HD, or you can watch live for free on Wednesday nights, 9 p.m.
Skank Fest
Oh,
coming?
yeah, Skank Fest coming up July 14th and 15th, guys. You got to go. Listen to me. It's a nonstop 2.5-day comedy party. Everyone that you want to fucking hang out with in comedy is going to be there. It's no joke. SkankFestNYC.com, April 2nd, pre-sale. go. Boom.
Oh shit, let me do one. Guys, we got to end the war in Yemen.
Come on,
I
Dave.
thought you were going to do Libertas. I'll be honest. I thought you were going to do Libertas.
I
Libertas,
put out a
you
comedy
bitch.
special called Libertas. Go check it out.
It was so incredible, guys. Joe Rogan specifically said himself that it's his favorite comedy special that he's ever seen. Off air, he said that.
Don't mention it again when he comes back in the room, but I'm pretty sure he said that.
Don't tweet that at him.
I'm almost certain that's
Don't
what he
say
said.
that I said that
Okay,
specifically.
fair enough. He gave me a look that kind of said that in the look, but he never actually verbalized.
No, but really, go buy Dave's comedy special, Libertas, available right now at gasdigitalnetwork.com. We're not plugging everything in our lives right now. Don't worry.
Hey, what's up,
Hey,
man?
Joe.
Plugging things? Is that what's
Bears,
going on?
man. Bears are crazy.
Dude, I drank way too much water today. Quite an issue.
Water's so hard for me to drink. It's so boring. I fucking hate it.
It is boring, but it's not boring if you're fucking dying of thirst. You got to think, if you were in a desert and you're just like barely hanging on, your lips are cracked and bleeding, and your skin is sore with sun blisters all over it, and you're just wandering, and you just see a fucking one of those Fiji waters in a bucket of ice. One of those giant ones.
Those are the nicest
Those
ones.
Big ones.
Thank
You
God I brought a
unscrew
Crystal
that
Light
bitch,
packet.
and you just chugga, 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 chugga. Thank God you
Got some
brought a Crystal
Splenda.
Light. I got some emergency. Let me dance this bitch up with some
God I-
ascorbic acid.
Thank God I keep Kool-Aid in my go bag.
Dude, I had Kool-Aid like a couple of weeks ago for the first time in fucking 20 years or some shit. I don't know when was the last time I had Kool-Aid before that, but I was at this barbecue place and it was so good. I had to go with the Kool-Aid.
Was
I
it
went
great?
Fuck, it was amazing.
That's sort of racist for a drink to offer at a barbecue place.
No, it was a black-owned business.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
No, it wasn't ironic.
Yeah,
they
were
doing
serious
it 'cause
about this.
They were serious about it. It was in Fresno.
You got to be careful because you see it on the menu and you go, do you guys have Kool-Aid? And he was like, yeah.
Kool-Aid
Yep,
was
you got a
like the
problem?
first drink. It's like you had all that other bullshit like Pepsi and root beer if you're really interested. But if you want Kool-Aid, you want to do this shit right. You're gonna eat oxtails, might as well have some Kool-Aid.
I was never a Kool-Aid guy, and I was poor. We were always like a shitty iced tea, like scoopable sugary
Yep.
iced tea into the
Right,
water.
Hell
right.
yeah.
I remember that shit.
We used to do
Yeah.
a lot of that in my home. The lemonade and the iced tea.
I
Those
don't
scoops.
real iced
Lemon
tea
flavored.
makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
Unsweetened iced tea. I don't even know what I'm like. That makes. I'm like, what? Just like
bags.
cold tea, just cold hot water.
I
and-
see the tea bags in it. I'm like, you left garbage in this iced tea.
I drink unsweetened iced tea all the time.
I hate it.
It's like vegetable water.
I
There's
think
like
I'm-
some phytonutrients in it apparently.
I'd rather drink water.
Minuscule
I think, than
amounts.
iced tea.
Yeah,
Than
man,
real
water-
iced tea.
Water's good, man. Maybe just drink a little sparkling water. Mix it up. Get a little fucking Pellegrino in your system.
Throw a
Pop,
little
pop,
bit
pop.
We have the soda
Caramel
stream.
syrup in it there.
No, you can't do that.
Delish.
That's what fucks you up.
Yeah. It's
Just
a
put the
problem.
water or whiskey. Either one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's a cheat day
The
for
thing-
Joe Rogan?
I'm telling you right now, the best shape I was ever in my entire life, dude. I was drinking Diet Coke like a motherfucker. I had abs, and I'm sure my body on the inside is a goddamn nightmare. But I was drinking like an insane amount of diet soda. It was a problem.
Really?
That was how to hydrate.
They say that shit fucks you up in so many different ways, and one of the ways it does is that all those chemicals in there are fucking terrible for your gut flora. Like even sugar is bad for your gut flora if you drink regular Coke, but apparently if you drink Diet Coke,
My gut flora is pretty dope, though. So
you say, so you say.
you don't know anything about my gut flora, Joe Rogan.
I'm always suspicious of people who are braggy about their gut flora. I'm like, yeah, right, I bet, bro.
Can't prove it here.
And my uncle is a straight up psychic, bro. I'm telling you. Dude's a mind reader. You don't have any secrets from him, bro. He looks into your eyes, he sees windows. Yeah, he's got a neon sign in front of his house and everything.
It's always the guy who's bragging the most. He's
My
the
gut
one
flora
who
is
got
so
the
dope,
weak
dude.
gut flora.
Yes, you got some farty gas gut flora.
What the fuck is gut flora?
You don't know what that is for real?
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Are you,
no,
you think
no,
I
not-
know what gut flora is?
Your stomach has living organisms
Hold
in
on,
it.
I'm sorry. Don't act like you guys fucking know what gut flora is.
I'm sure he knows
I
what
was going to
gut flora
explain it,
is.
but Joe got it
He
first.
has
Sure
no
he
idea what
knows.
gut flora is.
He
Noted-
absolutely does.
The lining of your. I'll let Joe do it. It's his show.
Go ahead, please, Jay.
The lining, the things in the linings, the floras.
Yes.
Floras. Am I pronouncing it right?
Yes.
My pronouncing might be off.
Flora. It's actual life forms. There's more E. coli in your gut than have ever been people ever. That's a fact.
Always.
Nuh-uh,
Always.
your gut.
Your gut, son. Everybody's. It's what
Your
part.
guts have that.
We're an ecosystem. Every human being is an ecosystem. We're not a one thing. Like, you cannot exist without the bacteria in your system, without what's on your skin protecting you from other invading bacteria. We're in a sea of life forms that are floating through the air, and that's why you get sick if you touch things and you touch your face. You're literally taking life forms into your body that want to go to war with your immune system.
Yeah.
Somewhere like deep there, when you're getting just like a rash, there's just like some dude arguing with his chick, or he's like, "Get off my back already," and he's leaving, and then you're like, "Yeah, it's a rash."
That's what it is. They had a fucking gang fight in the middle of your face and it became a zit.
But that's where cancer comes. I've said this for the longest time. That's where cancer comes from. You put shit in your body that's not supposed to be there. And when they, what's his name, said he got mouth cancer for being out Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Michael Douglas.
Yeah, dude. I'm telling you right now, we're not
He
supposed
didn't
to
get it from her.
Well, he said that he got it from eating a lot of pussy.
First of all, he said he didn't really say that, and that people have distorted what he originally said.
Well, because he was talking like this. He
He would be like the first guy ever. Imagine if it was Michael Douglas was the first guy ever to get mouth cancer from eating pussy. He'd be like, whoa.
I think that's a real thing, dude.
But it's
Yes,
the best. It's the
I think
best
it is.
reason to give for having mouth cancer. Like, how'd you get that mouth cancer?
It's the most badass way.
Just eating tons of
I
pot.
sucked it right out of Catherine Zeta-Jones.
pussy like a motherfucker.
Remember that
You got a
entrapment
feather in your
trailer? I
hat.
sucked it right out of that pussy.
Oh, she squirted cancer all over my face. Hot.
In the mouth, like right down the hatch.
Like a fucking a carnival clown mouth.
Listen, I'd
she
go
blew
to
the
that
balloon
doctor
up.
once every 6 weeks and go grind off what's in there. Go ahead. We're getting back to work in the morning.
Sand me down.
Why don't you give me a lidocaine gargle to smooth that bitch down?
It's like a football player that wants to always play. Give me a cortisone shot in this thing.
I got an 11 at home crawling off the walls. This bitch is crazy and she's hot as the sun, so I'm going back to work.
She's once that pussy sucked.
Sucked.
Those are your doctors got to go to
She
Michael
wants
Douglas
to,
and be
no,
like, "Listen."
he says no because without warning, wanting to get too specific, this particular cancer is caused by HPV, which actually comes from cunnilingus.
That's
Whoa,
right.
he really
Amongst
did say
other
that.
things.
Yeah.
But he took it back. So don't worry if stress caused my son's stress caused by my son's incarceration didn't help trigger it. But yeah, it's a sexually transmitted disease that causes cancer.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm telling you, dude, you're not supposed to put our dicks and our pussies in each other's mouths.
Shut your mouth.
Look, I will.
Shut your mouth, fun killer.
I'm
This
gonna
is
take
too
the
large of a
cancer.
platform.
Doggy, every time I'm 69ing with my chick, I'm like, we're just fucking giving each other cancer right now. And it makes me a little bit harder.
Do you think you have like a cancer doctor who has to talk to you like you're smoking cigarettes and be like, "Lewis, if you're going to keep eating pussy, I can't see you anymore."
That's probably exactly what it's going to be one day.
I just peck kissed her clit the whole time.
That's a good move. See, the thing is now they have a vaccine. So now you get that HPV vaccine. You never have to worry about
Good to go.
Yeah. So they're
Dudes
giving that to
too?
young, dudes and girls.
Oh, man.
It's a vaccine, but it's a risky one. It's like there's some side effects. And some people have had, depending on your biology, some people have pretty extreme side effects apparently. Like people have gotten really sick from that HPV vaccine.
That happens with almost all the vaccines, though. Certain people get really sick.
Some of them, yeah. I mean, this is the problem with this whole anti-vax movement. It's like they don't understand the nuanced details of like what it means to take an entire population of 300 million people and try to figure out a vaccine that's going to protect them from disease. It's not going to work on everybody. There's going to be people that don't jive with it. There's going to be people that are allergic to some of the stuff that's in it. There's going to be people that have weird biological reactions. These are the outliers. And like you have to be willing to accept a certain amount of outliers, unfortunately, if you want to protect people from polio and all these different fucking crazy diseases that they've really got a good grip on. Measles up until recently. Measles, they had it locked down. Nobody was getting measles anymore. But all these fucking hippies decided not to vaccinate their kids, and now measles are coming back because they're worried about autism. But at the same time, dads are getting older and older. These 54-year-old dudes are having babies.
Right.
And you're like, hey, man, like this is way more of your problem than probably most vaccinations.
Who knows
at least
what
statistically.
old sperm makes?
Yeah.
Kids with left hands.
But dude, vaccinations have fucked people up too. It's like both things are true. Like vaccinations are very important.
It's
but
the numbers, though. It's like
Yeah,
you have
numbers.
to look at it and go, all right, dude.
But there's also been there's been real extensive research to disprove the idea that the vaccinations are the reason for the autism rise.
Yeah.
But I can understand in just like a human instinctual way. Imagine you have a baby, you get your baby vaccinated. There's nothing goes more against your instincts than to give your baby to a stranger stranger and let them prick you with a fucking like
dude.
everything in you is telling you this is a bad idea, and then your kid's sick over the next year. I think it's very easy just psychologically to be like, well, that's what fucking happened when I gave him to that guy and he fucking pricked him. That's what
it's
ruined
the reason
it.
my son isn't circumcised was because he was born at 3 a.m. and they were going to do it the next day. And when I'd held him and I loved him. I looked at him in the face. If they were going to do it right away, I'd like take him, like cut him. I don't give a fuck. I don't want to have a weird dick. But now,
Seems like a pointy hit anyway. Take it back.
If Lewis's
She
boy,
must have squeezed at the beginning too hard. She fucked the kid's head up. Look at the top of his head. You fucked it up with your squeezy pussy.
Yeah.
All you want to do with that pussy, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Even with my son's fucking head. You can't help it, you whore. You got to squeeze it tight.
I got this fucking ramp head hanging out.
dude, they came back the next day. They're like, all right, we're going to take him now. And I had fucking hung out with him. You know, he was my son. I loved him at that point so much.
Lewis had
I
taken him to a
couldn't-
strip club already.
And my chick had also implanted in my mind all of these baby circumcision videos where she made me watch, and it's a
Good
fucked
for
up
her.
thing, dude.
Good
Yeah,
for her.
yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's a barbaric practice that people only do because it was done to them and because you feel like it's part of tradition now.
I agree.
They have these bullshit stories about like, oh, help HIV test. Shut up. You're not getting less
know what
or
that's
more
from?
HIV.
They did that. They did a study in Africa where they took like a few hundred people in like a fucking straight up place in Africa where it was like 1 out of every 4 people had AIDS.
Right.
And they proved that circumcising them was stopping the transmission of AIDS because there's not as many breaks in the foreskin, so it's not as easy to transmit the disease. But we were talking about a third world country where they're not
Yeah.
cleaning their bodies. We don't live in that same type of poverty or fucked up like disease.
Yeah, it's if you look at any of the justifications for circumcision, they're all super weak. Like
super
none of
weak.
them actually get. You know, they'll say these things where it's like, well, you can't get cancer in your foreskin or something like that, and you're like, yeah. And if you just lopped off chicks' breasts, they can't get breast cancer.
Yeah.
But we're still not going to just preemptively be like, let's just fucking start castrating people.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
I gotta tell you.
it changes the sensitivity of your dick. Your dick's supposed to be
sure.
slippery at the top. Meanwhile, you pull that foreskin away, it just dries up like an old piece of gum. It's not supposed to be like that. We're literally changed what dicks feel like when they go into people's bodies.
It is gross when you describe
Yeah.
an uncircumcised dick as self-lubricating.
Yeah.
Ew.
That's what it is.
God.
That's how they got the business done back in the day.
It is, but as the way my dick hangs soft, I would hate having foreskin.
I think you'd get over it.
Just that.
What would you rather, that or no dick? That or no dick? Foreskin,
Get new
right?
foreskin back or
Yeah.
no dick? Oh, of course, yeah.
Right, so just let it go. If you're lucky. If you should accept the
That's
fact that
that's
you're
real
lucky.
two extreme ends of the rainbow.
That's
there.
how I live, bro. I'm Mr. Extreme.
But I
There's
still
no
don't know if
between-
I'd take it back. I don't know if I can go back now and just say, all right, would I just take if a genie came out, the gayest genie on earth came out and said, you have one wish and it's just about your foreskin.
But they're pretty specific
But
wishes,
put
bitch.
it back. Put it
Would
back.
you-
Let's see what's up.
You'd
Hey,
wanna
you can
ha-
always get cut again if you're a crazy asshole.
Well, they
You
also
really want
have
to do it, and at least then it would be your decision.
reconstructive surgery they have for it too.
Bullshit. I've seen what they do. They take
It's-
clothespins, they pull your dick apart.
And weights.
That's so
They
true.
hang weights down, yeah.
Dude, they stretch the skin out around your dick and it becomes kind of like a foreskin,
Yeah,
but like a
that's not the real
turtleneck
thing.
foreskin. Like instead of like being one piece of meat, it's like a double pice of meat rolled up.
Yeah, it's like
It
a
looks
big
even
floppy
grosser.
hood, like Ghostface Killer.
Yeah.
It's like when Webster was hanging in his closet to try to make himself taller.
All the grosser shit about foreskin is accentuated by the fact that it's a double. It's essentially like the whole skin of the dick has to go over the top of the dick.
Yeah.
It's outrageous.
Yeah, they did a Penn and Teller bullshit about that.
Oh, that's
People are
circumcision.
crazy. They're so into it. But here's the thing we should do, and congratulations to you for doing that. Don't circumcise your kids anymore. It's crazy. Got to stop
It's
something.
really weird and fucked up.
It's dangerous.
Yeah.
It's not 100% dangerous, but it might be 1 out of 1,000 kids get some sort of an infection and they could lose their dick. That happens to
Yeah.
kids.
And then they do sexual
Sean
reassignment
Ghostface
surgery.
Killer? Son of a bitch.
That's a regular thing that when it happens, they fuck up their dicks to circumcision. They get the infection, and then they say, "All right, well now you can have a baby with no dick and have it be a boy, or we can sexually reassign it to be a girl." And kids find out years later that they were born a boy, and that's why that happened.
That's actually a famous case. There's a famous case about that where they did a botched circumcision. The kid's penis was removed, and then they decided to give him a sexual reassignment, and everyone was fucking terrified of it. It didn't work. The kid became massively, massively depressed, and then wound up committing suicide as an adult, and just felt robbed of reality, you know? By what? By some crazy, stupid, avoidable ritual where you're going to cut baby dicks because you think it looks better?
And in the best case scenario, even when all that shit doesn't happen, you're torturing a baby.
Yeah.
I mean, how else could you describe
the
it?
idea
You're
up
not
until-
using Novocaine. You're
Right.
not like numbing
It's a
this at
no,
all.
they do the local.
Yeah,
local
but I'm saying
anesthetic.
like you're not. But if you ever had a surgery like that and they were like, oh, we're just going to put some local anesthetic. I mean, like no one does
It
that.
must
It's like
sting so bad.
Oh,
and you're
dude.
so sensitive. You don't even know what pain is. You're a little tiny 1-day-old person. Someone's cutting your dick already. Like, what kind of a world have I been fucking?
I mean, and then you
what's
also
the
think
Jewish
about what it
practice?
does to you in that moment where you're like, we don't know the type of psychological damage that causes in that moment. This
Yeah.
real intense pain. They're in the world. They
yeah.
want their mom. They want to be held up against their mom's breast. They want to be feeding with their mom. They want the love right now. That's what they're supposed to get. And you take them and you fucking mutilate them. Who knows what type of switch you turn on in that fucking baby's head in that moment?
Yeah, you make Jewish people.
yeah, and we start all the wars.
They decide.
So there you go.
They decide to fucking really get good at finance and the diamond business. And
Goes, oh God, it's all good.
well, they were like one of the first people to be circumcised. Like it's like if Jewish people, you always assume were circumcised, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like why is that?
It's just part of it. It's for some
of
reason
the
part of
thing,
it. But there's no
right?
no one really knows any reason.
They're always trying to save a little.
You know what? You know what's the most horrific? You ever watch the circumcision rituals they do in Africa?
Yeah, I've seen a few of those.
Oh my God, there's a video of this dude just standing there, balls ass naked, and the guy comes over, grabs his dick, grabs this with one swipe of the blade, shoof, takes off the foreskin, pulls on his dick, and slices away and yanks it off, and the guy stands there, completely stone-faced, doesn't react, and that's like part of the ritual.
Then Dana
dick
White
is
walks in. So you want to be an
bleeding.
ultimate fighter?
His dick is bleeding, and he's just standing there. He's not looking at it, and it's not a good circumcision cut either. It's totally fucked. It's like peeling an orange, right? You're never gonna get a straight line. It's really what it looks like to this poor guy's dick. It's so. Have you seen it, Jamie? Do you know the video?
There's also
I have it
the
saved on my phone.
and there's the Jewish ceremony where the rabbi doesn't the rabbi like suck blood or
Yeah.
something off the
Yes.
dick.
Yeah, like it's not that every Jew doesn't do that, but there's
Just
like
your-
some
just
groups-
your
Shout
guy.
out,
just
Dave.
my
We
family.
get it.
Heavy
You didn't
duty.
get your dick sucked by a rabbi.
Yeah.
I might have.
Heavy
But,
duty baby sick dick sucking cult version.
I brought this up years
Remix.
ago on the show, and I'm the only person doing any research on our show. I may seem like I'm the dumbest one, but I promise you right now,
You're
I'm
the most prepared, dumbest one.
I'm the one doing the research. I brought this up, and everyone looked at me like I'm an asshole. And I'm like, no, I swear to God, rabbis are out there sucking babies' dicks.
Yeah.
And you guys were, you
There's
know.
videos of them justifying it.
you
It's
gave
a
a
really
headline,
crazy
though.
thing because they had to. There was some serious problems with it. Oddly enough, because of herpes.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
babies were getting herpes and dying from herpes from rabbis sucking their dick after they performed this circumcision. And apparently, in some versions of Judaism, it's a part of their ritual. And that this guy was explaining it in Yiddish, and he was explaining all the different things that what's important, that the rabbi or the moel performs this. I think he said it like tatitzi. He had like a word for it.
You had to cut the balls.
He's a nice old word for sucking baby dicks you just cut. I mean, it's so only in religion.
Do you think
would
it's as
be able
sinister?
to have a YouTube video where you're dressed like a wizard talking about sucking baby dicks that you just cut, and well, this is a part of our tradition.
But do you think
And
it's
they're just
sinister?
making an argument. Like you're
Yeah.
not just in
Yeah.
some fucking like dress and like making like singing
guys
some
seen
song.
it?
You're actually going like, well, this is why we have to do
Have
this.
you seen it?
I've
Have
never
you ever
seen. But do you
it?
think it's definitely sinister?
No, it's retarded.
Always, or is it just like
It's fucking stupid.
I
And
don't
they're
think that-
stuck in it, and someone did it to him,
Yeah.
and someone did it to his dad, and they feel like they're a part of this clan. It's fucking
And you feel like
stupid.
if you were to give up on that, you're giving up on your dad, your
Yes.
family, everything's a
Yes.
lie. So you got to just blindly believe that this is what you do.
Yeah, blindly suck that baby's
it
dick.
retards progress. It retards progress. It literally is retarded, like in that sense. Like forget about the derogatory term you use for people. It's a retarded idea. It retards logic. You're cutting a baby dick and sucking on it. Then you're making a YouTube video saying, well, but when we thought the world was flat, this is how we did it. And we still do it this way. And we like to cut it. And we like to suck it. And we have a name for it. It's a noise that I make with my mouth that's different than sucking cut baby dicks. It's avajitski. And when I do the avajitski, it's very important.
A rose by any other name, I say.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy that someone could sit around and justify doing some shit to a baby's dick just because they've always done it.
But I think all
But
these.
to have Jackie Mason do it like that. I come in, I cut it, I pull it out.
On the other side.
That's for a very reasonable rate.
It's just a little too big. I got to cut it off.
Look, I mean, as if it's any better to cut it and not suck it. Like, at least maybe it feels better for the kid.
Yeah. Dude, honestly, if you're
You
really
just cut
looking
his
at-
dick, give the kid a blowjob.
Yeah,
from
Suck
a physical
it.
standpoint, you would definitely want somebody to suck your dick after you got a cut.
But what kind of a person just sucks baby dicks all the time? Like, how many baby you took an average rabbi that's done this, or Moel. What was it, a
Moel?
Moel?
Moel.
Moel. What is Moel? Is that like a shoe company or something?
It's close to
But
Moet.
But how many baby dicks in a lifetime, in a strong career, a 35-year career, working for the synagogue? How many baby dicks have you sucked?
Did he go to
sir?
college?
Putting up numbers.
Can you imagine?
Did he go to college in Arizona or anything? Does that matter?
He's got
Is it a particularly slutty rabbi?
Could you imagine
He's got
if
to
you
testify
looked,
like a Nazi in Nuremberg. He goes, "I was following orders."
Imagine if there was a website and like you just see like it just scrolled. You know that bar on the right side, the dot was really tiny, so you knew there's a lot of scrolling to do. It's all the baby dicks he sucked over the years.
I kept an album.
Well, there was a guy. He told me it was the best.
Check out my Instagram page.
When he
I
was
suck
done.
it. I spit it.
Oh, Jamie, no,
Oh!
Jamie,
Oh!
Jamie, do not show us that. Son of a bitch.
Boner check.
How's that online? Is that on YouTube?
Was he about
Oh
to suck
God.
it?
And there's blood everywhere. They cut it. There's blood everywhere, and the baby's screaming, and the guy sucks the baby's dick. Congratulations, you're an idiot.
It is
But
a
you know,
nice sorry. It is a nice
Christ.
sorry for
But
cutting your dick, though.
This is one of those things that because it's a part of a religion, people get mad if you take it down. People get mad if you shit on it. But this is one of there's no clear indication that your religion has gone completely off the track, that if you're cutting baby dicks and then sucking them, anybody in their right mind outside of that religion saying, "What are you going to do today, Charlie?" "I'm thinking about cutting baby dicks and sucking them." What? You
Is
call
that on
the
YouTube?
FBI and the CIA.
Yeah.
Here's what's fucked up. That's on YouTube.
Yeah.
Now, look, there's a lot of Jewish people that are watching their families, babies getting their dicks cut and then sucked. But then there's also a
Hopefully.
whole sect of pedophile vampires that are watching that and just beating off to it all day long.
Dude, some fucking guy taught his dog to Heil Hitler, and he's looking at jail time. But you could
Scotland.
suck a baby's dick on YouTube, and your
YouTube.
fucking
That's
video will just
great.
go up.
Yes,
Well, I want to suck baby dicks, but I don't want to go to jail. I'll become a rabbi.
Oh no.
Yeah, if you were a pedophile.
Oh, Jamie, get that down.
No, I'm not showing. I'm just showing you there's a bunch of
You
them.
son
I'm
of
not
a
showing them
bitch.
to
There's
you.
hundreds of
Yeah,
them.
they're just all over.
Hundreds of guys sucking baby dicks.
Wow.
And it's 2018. This is not a.
Not
we're
according to Jewish religion.
We're not living in the barbarian times. But today, people are cutting and sucking baby dicks. How about genital mutilation?
For it.
How much is that? That's the reason
Put me
I
down for
said-
2, please.
Can't say that anymore, man.
Yes, you can.
No,
you can
no,
make a
it's
joke.
March. It's March.
Oh, wait. Oh, it's a female
As of April, it's off. We can't say it
anti-female
anymore.
genital mutilation month. What is the month? Is it female empowerment month? What is it?
Is it? Is there one of those now?
No, it's a Hispanic month. Hispanic Heritage Month.
There was a National Women's Day, right? Mm-hmm.
That was
I
recent.
stayed off long.
Every year.
Like, I'm not saying shit.
Yeah. Don't play in traffic.
I'm definitely not going to say anything snotty. You know, try
No,
to be
don't
funny.
National
It's
Women's
not
Day.
time to be cute.
You don't need to say anything.
Yeah,
Owen
Women's History
Benjamin's
Month.
handling it for all of us.
Women's History Month.
Yeah.
March
Way to bully
1st,
out the Hispanics.
Saturday, March 31st.
We're
Interesting.
celebrating.
So this is Women's History Month. The fucked up thing is Black History Month is the shortest month.
Yeah,
That's
that
the-
was definitely some passive-aggressive racist shit.
100%. 100%. Can you
Yeah,
imagine?
but they have an extra bone in their ankle that makes them history harder. So they only need 28 days.
Like, at what point in time is that going to end? Like, how long in the future would it be before we didn't have Black History Month? Like, we're not going to have, like, Moors History Month for people,
Yeah.
right? You know?
So you're saying black people are going to go extinct at a certain point, and we won't have to...
I think all people are going to go extinct at a certain point. I bet it's probably within 1,000 years. I think so.
How about we don't theme our months like fucking frat parties?
That's true, too.
Yeah,
But I
it's
just
like-
think, like, what point in time we're going to not care? I mean, what if there's a way, like, let's just imagine, is it even humanly possible to engineer the education of human beings to the point where there's no more racism? Doesn't exist anymore. No more sexism. No more homophobia.
I think naturally we're tribes and we gravitate toward people that look like us and we're
Right.
comfortable with. I remember in kindergarten,
For sure.
this is 1987, we were allowed to just choose our tables. Like they didn't make you, sit where, assigned seats or whatever. And I remember all the white kids just sat with the white kids, and the black kids sat with the black kids, and the Hispanic kids sat with the Hispanic kids. And I'm half white, and I was raised by white people. And you see little Puerto Rican me just plopped in the middle of this white table, and all these little kids are probably like, "What the fuck is this kid doing here?" But it was very much like everyone segregated, like racially, and it was very natural.
Yeah, but you're a kid. I'm talking about as a grown adult who's already examined the world. Don't you think it's possible to people to get to the point where they don't do that anymore? Just let it go.
I think individuals can, but the idea that in terms of large demographic groups, there won't be any in-group preference and there won't be any, maybe, I'm not like closed off to it, but it seems like a real tough goal.
I agree with you 100%, but I'm more leaning towards that now than ever before because of the internet. Because I think people are accelerating. I think they're accelerating in what they understand about what's going on in the world. It's way more deep. Like you talk to an average 20-year-old today, and they're just way more knowledgeable than I was when I was 20. Like stunningly so. Like even if they believe ridiculous shit.
Because they have the information. I mean, because it's like if for me to have, I wouldn't know half the shit I know if I grew up, decades before I did. I wasn't going to go to the library every fucking night.
There's a lot more work to care.
Yeah. It's like I wasn't going to put that in. But when it's all right in front of you, it's like, all right, well, I guess I can spend 2 to 5 a.m.
But I think it doesn't seem like we're going towards that. It seems like the sharing of information is sort of making us move away from that. It seems like it's making us more erratic and more kind of crazy. I feel like we don't know how to people don't know how to quickly share an idea and deal with people reacting to that idea as fast as it's happening. And I think it's creating people that are, we were speak of friends who are like disowning each other on Facebook and publicly being like, "Fuck you, dude. If you believe this, I don't ever want to talk to you again." And you're like, dude, whoa, we're not even supposed to talk about some of this shit. I thought whatever happened to water cooler conversation, you weren't supposed to talk about politics or religion or any of this stuff. You were kind of supposed to just lead each other's lives and sort of live with each other and.
Yeah, well, I remember thinking about this when the thing with Chick-fil-A, which by the way is delicious, but when their thing was solid. My favorite fast food. But when they were against gay marriage and people were boycotting Chick-fil-A, and you're just kind of well, what is the precedent that you're setting here? If I pull up to a gas station and I go to get a snack, do I have to go so where do you stand on the Iraq War? Where do you stand on? Isn't the point that we all can kind of get along even if we have wildly different views?
It's called Chick-fil-A, not Dude-fil-A, queer.
Yeah, but we would like to spend our money wisely. That's the idea is that people are voting with their dollars, right?
I get that, but it's almost like now we can have all that knowledge and I get your point, but it can work toward us being inclusive, or it can work toward us being well, no, I'm not going to fuck with anybody who doesn't meet X, Y, Z beliefs.
Right.
And there's a lot of that going on,
which
the far ends.
Isn't necessarily great.
No,
because it's
not necessarily.
There's something beautiful about the market where I'm a Jew, but I can get a cab in New York from a Muslim, and I'm just I'm going up here, and then he drops me off, and he's like, "Have a good night, God bless," and I'm like, "Thank you," and we give each other money, and we're all happy, and it doesn't matter that we
window.
Do you give a
God? Sure, but
that place is such a melting pot, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so different than L.A. L.A. everybody's in their own car, they go to their own building, everybody's insulated. In New York, you're forced to walk with people, get on the train with people. Everybody's all together.
Yeah.
The subway.
9 a.m. at 34th Street. You have a million people, and one small area where it's one person's a homeless person, the next person's a multimillionaire, supermodel, actor from every different area of life, and they're all squished together.
Yep.
In LA, you got to go to the party to hang out with that model or actor, or to interact with them really in any way.
Lewis, I feel like you don't have a lot of examples outside of actor and model. Multi-millionaire, supermodel, actor. You said that and homeless. You were construction worker.
You never found just a cashier or somebody with a reasonable job.
Everybody's living the dream.
I feel bad.
Models.
If you guys want to take an Uber back, if you guys are going to stay and hang out and keep talking, I have to go because I have to go do Bonfire. I have to go to Sirius XM.
What time do you got to be there?
I have to be there like 2:40.
Oh, you're okay, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But to go now,
Bonfire. That's Dan Soder's show.
it is indeed.
I'm familiar.
Sirius
Dan Soder
XM.
radio program?
Yes.
Yeah, we love that show.
On the satellite radio.
Well, we can either keep going for a little bit and talk mad shit about Jay.
Oh, I'd love that.
That'd be fun. He'll be out the
Finally.
door. Or we can just wrap this up.
Dude, I can keep going all day. I podcast.
I got a lot of shit about Jay to talk.
Well, yeah, good.
Big Jay. Thanks, brother.
Dude,
thank you very much,
for
man.
having
Thanks
us,
for facilitating this.
Absolutely, man. You guys
Getting
have
the party
fun
together.
I love you, brother. So
Love you,
Jay's been
man.
a prick all week.
Wait till he gets out the door.
Oh,
Wait till he gets out
sorry.
the door.
You know what? That was poor etiquette. I liked his half hair red better.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, buddy.
Jamie, did you get the release?
Yep.
right, beautiful.
Trying to make sure I don't have anything in your
Boys.
car.
I like how you're rocking the old school chain with the keys.
Oh yeah.
It's not connected to a wallet.
Let it go.
It's not connected to anything.
No, I like it.
It's just a fashion accessory. I swear to
It's
God, there's
fine.
no wallet.
It's got a chain.
Jay marches
like-
to the beat of his own drum.
It's living in a Grease movie. Those fucking dudes that like would wear those like 1950s type clothes, like roll the cuffs up of their jeans, wear those old school shoes.
Yeah, sometimes I get a little like, you just kind of wish you lived one life in every generation. Like, I want to just
Yeah.
experience that a
Oh,
little bit
yeah.
and know what that's about.
Oh my god, it must have been amazing.
The '60s would have been so cool. Just like when the counterculture movement first happened, and like music was just awesome in like the late
Yeah, the
'60s,
music was
Woodstock
the
era.
shit.
Yeah.
Like that was just like a cool time to be like. But I have fat thighs, so I could never wear the pants that were available for men at the time.
You could wear them, bro. You just gotta get them pleated out.
Yeah.
That was tougher to do in the 70s or the 60s. That was before the internet. You couldn't find your specific
Very
pair
true.
of...
What's up with people that want to go back to those eras so bad they get those really bad tattoos? You know those like Ed Hardy looking tattoos?
Oh, like a
Those
boat, the classic,
Americana?
yeah.
Yeah, like what the fuck are you drawing on yourself? Like, there's like some of those are so bad, but it's like purposely bad artwork that's supposed to mimic a time period. But it's like your body's not a museum, though. Okay, if you want to mimic that time period, maybe you
Right.
should get a fucking picture from that time period and put it on the wall.
There's
Don't
a
put
lack
that
of creativity.
shitty pirate ship on your ass.
People
I
are.
have a nostalgia for almost like before any of that time period, like where it's just like you'll see the pictures from like the 50s or something where it's just like, the dudes wore suits, the girls had these dresses. Like I almost like, I'd like to experience that for a little bit, just wearing a suit and a top hat, flipping a quarter or
Yeah,
on my arm.
because you're
Like,
fucking 6'4" and 120 pounds. You know, I'd only want to wear a suit too.
not
We were-
exact measurements, but
We were
okay.
watching this Jack Johnson fight on video from like, what was it, like the early 1900s? And everyone in the audience had one of those hats, those gentleman hats that they would wear. They all wore the same hat. Everybody had a hat on. Like every guy in the audience, there's thousands of people. They all had those dress-up hats on.
Oh, Jack Johnson's going to fight a Negro.
Like look at those people. Look at them out there. Look at all the hats. They're the same hat.
I'll tell you right now, like-
Everybody's got the same hat on.
Even today, it's like accessorizing for a dude is like the best look. You throw on like a watch and like a nice like hat and like just little things. They make it puts a dude together. Like a chick, you want as little shit on her as possible. You want her to be as close to naked as possible. We don't give a shit about accessories, none of that stuff. But a woman, when they look at us and they see like a watch, they're like, oh, this guy's got money.
This just in: Louis J. Gomez likes fucking dudes who wear a lot of jewelry. It's true.
If I'm gonna fuck a man,
You
he's
had an
got to
opportunity.
accessorize very well.
He's got to have like 2 or 3 watches on.
Joe gave you an
watch on his
opportunity to
ankle.
stop when Jay had to leave, but you insisted on continuing to tell the world that you want
About
to blow
the
dudes with
powers
watches
of
on.
Accessorizing.
Nah, man, Jay can leave. We'll keep this magic going. So what's hotter
Well,
than
hey,
a dude
that's-
with a watch?
Seriously, that's a good point. What is hotter than a dude with a watch?
You guys get what I'm saying. I know
Oh,
you do.
for sure.
Jay calls me later. He's like, "Hey, how'd the rest of the show go?" I go, "We all just started sucking each other's dicks after
Yeah,
a few
we talked
minutes,
about
man."
fake diamond earrings and shit. Scarves,
shit.
1950s tattoos, roller girls, roller derby girls.
Yeah, I think people that get those that style, like if they
Yeah.
go, I want this old style tattoo. It's a lack of creativity. They just want to fit into a certain type of thing. They want to look like a type of person with that tattoo. They saw another dude at one point and they were like, I want to look like that guy. And that in
So
itself
it's
is
the
a little
same
bizarre.
thing. Like you're saying, it's the same thing as the suits and the
Shut
hats,
the-
basically. It's the same thing. It's just trying to look like the next guy or just trying to like fit into the fucking thing.
Right.
It's like whether it's a suit and a hat, it's just a fucking, oh no, now I'll get a tattoo. Now I'll get this.
Yeah.
You see that with a lot of people. There's a lot of people in LA, New York, you see that a lot where someone's got like a crazy different look, you know? But you're like, but you were just trying to fit into that group.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's
Right.
all the same thing, man. You're just,
Yeah.
this
I
is
was
what
goth
we do.
in high school and I was nominated. We're not goth, but I was borderline goth in high school.
How do you be borderline goth? That's like
You dip
that's
your toe in
autism.
Because there was a crew of goth kids that didn't really accept me.
He's on the spectrum. He's on
Yeah.
the goth spectrum.
It's a 3, maybe 3.5.
That's what it was. I used to wear like Marilyn Manson t-shirts and I had
Right.
long
You were
hair
angry.
and
You were angry.
eyeliner.
You were upset at the world.
But the goth kids weren't really like,
They didn't take you in.
That was my crew, okay? But yeah, you wanted to just be a part of something and everyone was like, oh, that guy's so unique or weird, but I just looked like 100 other kids at the mall that shopped at Hot Topic.
That's a big problem with young people wanting to be a part of something. You know, I was listening to the Sam Harris podcast with Christian Piccolini. He was a white power guy who was recruited into these white nationalists when he was like 14. It's just the podcast detailing these horrific fucking events that this guy went through and horrific violence against black people. He just got sucked into being in a group when he was 14. And here he is now in his 40s, years after leaving, super open and honest about it and talking about it. And you're like, wow. And it makes you realize, like, this smart guy that you're hearing talking at 40 could have been that guy at 14 that got sucked into the group. Like, it's not, it isn't really not even whether or not you're smart. It's whether or not you have life experience.
And where you, or, you know, the path you go down, because it's luck, dude. I'm telling you right now, you are just a product of your environment.
Yep.
You could turn left when you should have turned right one day, and then your whole fucking life is a whole different thing.
Absolutely.
You know, I did some fucked up shit as a teenager that it's like, I happened to land here, but I could have easily just been in jail or been a criminal or legitimately, like, you know, hurt people, and I could have went down a much different path.
Well, that's the crazy thing when people like kind of like they have so much like hatred towards someone else for having a different view than them or being in a different situation. And you're like, dude, just understand, you were like two little circumstances away from being that guy. I see that a lot with people, and I'm on the side of like gun rights. Like, I'm not for gun control, but the people who are like really shitty to these teenage kids who are like becoming famous, and you're like, dude, if you were a fucking teenager and you could have just been on the fucking news and everyone's praising you because you take this position, so we'd all fucking do that shit.
I said the exact same thing yesterday. I was talking about one of these NRA guys that was mocking these kids. I'm like, you're out of your fucking mind. If anybody should be talking about we got to do something, it's kids that got shot at.
Sure.
I mean,
why not?
they have the floor.
No, I understand.
They're supposed to have the floor. I mean, they just got shot at. They lost their friends, and they are standing up. And maybe they're not informed about a lot of issues. Maybe they don't know what a semi-automatic or an AR-15 is. Maybe they don't know those details. But they know that no one's doing shit, and people keep getting shot.
Yes.
And they're kind of badass because they survived, like they
got lucky.
Neo in the Matrix.
Yeah, they're not bad. They just fucking were in the right place.
But here's the thing:
I
no one's
understand.
talking about that Maryland one. And be like, you don't talk about the positive ones.
Yes, but you know, because again, because that conflicts.
Tell the story.
So more or less in Maryland, there was this school shooting, or a kid came into school with a gun, but they had an armed security guard. He took him out. Nobody died.
Military trained guy got rid of him quick. And that's what NRA advocates are saying. Like, hey, this is a good thing. We should have someone who's an armed and ready responder at the school to prevent this kind of shit from happening. And there's a lot of veterans that would take that job happily, and you would have your kids 100% safe. And people are like, no, that's not the solution. The solution is take the guns away.
And like, I don't like the idea of armed security at school. I don't like the idea of metal detectors. I don't like the idea of arming teachers. But it's like, to just dismiss that and be like, no, gun control is the only reasonable measure, I think is naive. But just to the point, like you were saying before, I have no problem with people being like, hey, CNN shouldn't just be putting these kids on without having someone to rebut it, or they shouldn't be putting this on and just take. But to actually go at the kid and be like, oh, this kid's fucking, you know, just milking this experience. Like, whatever. Any of us would do a thing like that when we were a teenager.
And look, I don't have a horse in the race. I don't really give a shit. I don't really shoot guns. And I know, dude, when I've shot guns, it's just been really fun. There's no part of me that, like, I think I would swallow it a little more if people that, like, were really, big gun advocates would just kind of admit that, like, dude, it's pretty awesome. We want to blow shit up. It's fucking great, you know? But you get this other sort of thing where I just think that you should have people that are really trained, really responsible, and we should have specific measures in place in order, and I know we do have that, but maybe we should look at it and push that line back even a little bit more. Because, yeah, you're right, even in the example of the dude, you know, taking out that kid in that school, I don't necessarily have an issue with having an armed security guard at the school to protect children, but I kind of have an issue with somebody who, you know, you don't know when his girlfriend broke up with him and when this dude went batshit, right? Mm-hmm. So even when you have to give people psychological exams, like, when do they go crazy? When's there a moment where somebody snaps and now they're fucking crazy, right?
Yeah, I'm completely against gun control of just about any kind.
I know you
are.
But
I actually think when people, a lot of times Republicans will go, it's not about gun control, it's about mental health. I think that's even more of a cop-out, because you're like, what the fuck are you even saying by that? Like, what do you, there's lots of, when you say mental health, it's like, there's lots of people who suffer from, like, anxiety, depression, like all these things. It doesn't mean they're a risk to others. Like, what are you actually going to say? Like, I'm for unfettered gun rights, but everyone has to have like a psychological exam, and it's as if there's some way that we can predict who's going to shoot up a fucking school. And the truth of the matter is, it's really fucking tough.
No, it definitely is. But what you're saying isn't entirely correct, because it is absolutely about mental health, and you have to be fucking crazy to be a school shooter, right?
Sure.
Yeah, and most of these people are on some sort of psychiatric medicine. There's a giant percentage of them. So it is, in fact, a mental health issue, because they're literally on, most of them, like the vast percentage of them are on mental health medication. Yeah. So the question is whether or not it's the mental health medication that's causing them to do this shit, or whether or not they were already crazy and that medication was just trying to treat this disease and they got a hold of guns, and that's the problem, is the guns.
Yeah, so maybe I didn't say that like precisely enough, because I agree with everything you just said. I'm just making the point that the idea that it's like, oh, all we know is that there's this category of people who have mental health issues and they shouldn't be allowed to get guns is way too broad. But no, I think... again, like you mentioned earlier, it's like, dude, they'll say anyone who's real fucked up nowadays, like has a lot of mental health issues, a lot, and is in school, they're going to put them on drugs. They put anyone who's borderline on drugs. So the really fucked up kids are on like a cocktail of drugs, and they'll admit with a lot of these like antidepressants, antipsychotics, that they can cause suicidal tendencies. Some of them will even say they cause homicidal tendencies. So I think it's pretty reasonable that maybe in some very small percentage of them, they cause you to just fucking want to go, or they push you at least in the direction of wanting to go just shoot up a bunch of people.
Well, they seem to relieve you of the feeling of consequences. They disassociate you from whatever you're experiencing. Yeah. That's one of the most disconcerting things about the idea that if someone has homicidal thoughts, but they're keeping them at bay, and then they take some pill that's saying, "Hey, fuck it, let's do this."
You're not exercising the mental processes of not killing people on your own. You need this thing to do it, and then you don't have your medication one day. I heard you talk about this the other day. It was kind of interesting. I forget who was on. Maybe it was Metzger or somebody, but you were talking about people that take...
He was very calm, cool, and collected.
Metzger was so relaxed on that episode. It was weird.
The best advertisement for Caveman Nitro you could have possibly had. It will make you into a raving madman.
The Maryland school shooter was killed by his own bullet, not the school resource officer, police said.
Shot himself in the head.
Oh, he shot himself in the head when the guy was coming after him. Yeah.
Okay, but still kind of a similar moral of the story.
Maybe not.
Maybe the guy grabbed his hand and made him shoot himself in the head.
This is definitely not the same story. The story was that this armed guy took him out.
Yes, that's what I heard as well.
That's what I had heard. Like, I'd heard a deceptive version of it then, because I heard that this guy engaged in a firefight with this kid and killed him instantly.
Yeah, that's what I read, like 6 different articles that said that.
Yeah.
So okay, so maybe that's incorrect.
God, there's too many things to pay attention to.
His shot hit the shooter's gun, which was in his hand.
His shot hit the shooter's gun before or after the shooter shot himself?
Yeah.
So he shot himself with the gun that got shot?
It says the
afterwards?
officer shot struck Rollins' gun, which was in the teen's hand, the sheriff's office said. Nevertheless, his quick action confronting Rollins just 3 minutes after the teen shot 2 students has been credited with bringing the incident to a quick end.
So the guy did shoot the kid.
Yeah, but he
hit his gun.
That's not what killed him. Yeah.
Right. So he shot him, and then after the guy shot him, he just shot himself while he still could.
It says the praise came
or
even
the guy
when it was
could have shot him
unclear
after he was dead.
Say that again?
It says the praise came even when it was unclear which shot killed the teen.
Well, he definitely seems like he shot him. I mean, he was in the fire. He really was in a firefight with this fucking guy.
Yeah. I don't know, dude. Look. I think there's not a single answer to any of this. I think it is, definitely a mental health issue. I think nobody's gonna come up with a law that's gonna figure all this shit out. I don't live. I joked about it before, but I kind of live my life in a sort of ignorance is bliss state with this type of shit. I mean, I don't know. I have to guess my kid's not going to be shot to death in a school one day. Knock on wood, right? I know, and it's a horrible, horrible thing. But the reality is, I don't know if these people that are so obsessed with everything and just they're making it their lives, I almost feel like they're kind of missing the point. If my kid isn't going to be out at a rally holding a sign, I'm not spending my days doing that with him. I'm spending my days creating memories with him and just trying to spend my life having a good life. And I'm not really politicizing anything with my 5-year-old.
Well, there's people that feel like they want to do something. They want to change. They don't want this to happen again. And if you lost your kid, you'd probably feel that way too.
Yeah, yeah.
Sure. I mean, there's way too many of these things. There's way too many of them. So we got to figure out what it is. I think the real issue relies rather. It lies. Here's one giant part of the problem. Everybody's looking at the final piece of the puzzle. The final piece of the puzzle when it all comes together is the school shooting. What gets someone to that position? How do they get to that? You got to go to step 1, not to step 10. If step 10 is a school shooting, you got to figure out how do we get less people to go from step 1 to step 2. How do we keep more people happy as young people? How do we give more people support? How do we give more people therapy or exercise or recreation or friendship or community guidance or whatever the fuck we're doing where we alienate people to the point where they literally want to go and shoot everybody else? It's like the physical equivalent of like flipping over a game when you're losing.
Yeah.
You know?
I think, that's a great analogy, by the way. I think that's exactly what it is. It's like, oh, this world is so bad for me.
Yeah.
Well, fuck you then.
Fuck
I'm going to
your
come
kids.
fucking make it this for everybody.
Fuck that nice teacher.
I've thought, I completely agree with what you're saying, and I think maybe the silver lining in this, like the best thing that could come out of this, and it has nothing to do with a law, is just that kids in high school will fucking think twice before they're brutally ostracizing some other kid.
Yeah.
Because you're like, hey, watch out. That kid might be the one who fucking wants
I
to
don't think
murder
they
all
will,
you guys.
though. That's not
Maybe
the way
not.
kids think, dude. Kids think they're invincible. They're not thinking about that. I remember when Columbine was such a big news story when I was in high school, I believe at the time.
I was for sure.
Yeah, it's your birthday actually. Is
Ruined my
Columbine.
birthday that
Yeah.
year. It's a real fucked up thing.
And dude, it was such a big deal. I had never seen anything like that before. This is before 9/11. 9/11 was the next big thing, but it happens so often now that because of the internet, I almost feel like people are also desensitized to like how crazy it was because Columbine. Dude, it was bizarre watching the images on the news of the people running out of that school. It was like haunting. And I remember watching it, and my mom made this point, and my mom was a fucking drug addict, lunatic, but she had these weird little moments in her life where she said some crazy shit. And she was like, you know what? Yeah, maybe they shouldn't have fucked with those kids. Just in a weird way. And I was like, oh, damn, Mom, really? You're like defending these? But she just kind of, it wasn't defending the act of people getting killed, but it was sort of looking at the root, which is what you're saying. And she, she just kind of made that point. It kind of always stuck with me.
Well, I think even more than which I get the point, but even more than other kids bullying them, the truth is if you want to get at the root, you want to be like, hey, parents, fucking love your kids and give them a really good childhood. But it's like, how do you actually make that happen?
There's a
very difficult.
natural inclination that animals have to pick on the weaker ones. It's a terrible natural inclination that human beings have to avoid. Because chickens do it. I have chickens. My chickens fuck with the smaller chickens and the less aggressive chickens. They fuck them up. They have a pecking order. I've seen it with dogs. With one dog becomes the alpha of the pack, takes over, dominates the other dogs. It's a natural thing. It's natural. It's natural in every single animal community. And it's natural with people. But we're smart, and we understand the consequence of that. And you got to give those kids a reason to not do that. But there's also the problem with, like, if you're going to school with LeBron James, okay, like, standing next to this fucking giant super athlete, you're like, shit! Kind of bullshit genetic roll of the dice that I get. This motherfucker got all aces. He's got 5 aces. Like, he's 7 feet tall. He weighs 300 pounds and he moves like a panther. Fuck! There's no
but you don't need aces to win. And I love that analogy specifically because, it's so stupid. I have a tattoo on my arm and it's just a 2-7 offsuit. I'm not a poker player or anything, but that's the analogy. It's like,
take it off. Take that tattoo off.
It's such a bad
grind
tattoo.
It down. It's
oh, yeah. No, you have no idea, dude. It's the worst.
Have you thought about doing anything about it?
No, I have one covered up. I have one that says Lou Dog, my first one ever.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Nobody even called me Lou Dog. They just did sarcastically after I got it. Lou Dog, faggot.
You got that nickname. You introduced it with your tattoo. You're like, I'm Lou Dog.
I was trying to give myself a nickname.
I was 18. I was like, I need a tattoo. What can I get? And my mind could only go to Lou Dog.
That is one of the douchiest thing a human being can do is give themselves a nickname.
And tattoo it on their body.
If you just decide... I mean, I'm not talking about like a pro wrestler or even a basketball player. I mean, for fighters, it's pretty commonplace.
Yeah.
But for the average person, man, my friends call me Lou Dog. Nobody calls you Lou Dog.
Nobody was calling me their friend at that point. It wasn't good. All right? I'm not defending any of this shit. The point I'm making, though, is
it's
that...
also not even a good, like
Shut the fuck
artistically,
up,
it's
all
not
right?
a good tattoo. It's like everything is just bad.
It was like it said Lou Dog, and I had fat arms. I was a fat kid, so it said Lou Dog and really small because I could only afford a $60 tattoo. So a little petite Lou Dog, and then below it, it wasn't even the full thing that could connect around my arm. It was just a little bit of tribal, just like a sliver, like a 2-inch sliver of tribal.
When I was a kid in high school, most of the guys that were doing tattoos weren't good artists. there was a few good artists. You would find them in magazines and shit, and you'd have to travel to like Connecticut to get a tattoo done.
Yeah.
Like it was weird. It wasn't like it is now. Like now the artists are going from art school right into tattooing, and you're getting these amazing pieces. I mean, I've never seen tattoos like today in my life. I saw one the other day. Some guy had Michael Jordan tattooed on, it looked like a leg or an arm. I couldn't tell what it was, but it's like they took a photograph and just wrapped it around this guy's leg. It's insane.
Yeah, now you go on the internet and you can actually see all their art and just compare it and pick and choose. And there's just way more artists and way more people getting tattoos, so it's just a much bigger market.
Because the guns they use, like my buddy who tattoos me, shout out Keith Caramello, tattoos by Keith.
Shout out
He's
to
the man.
Kid Caramello.
Keith, he's the fucking man. Great tattoo
Keith
artist.
the Kid. Now he's got a nickname.
But he didn't give it to himself, so it's not douchey.
Good. Keith the Kid.
Out in Long Island, dude, and he's got these guns. Whatever he does, dude, it's an expensive, like German fucking engineered gun, and it just doesn't hurt.
Whoa, look at that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, my
that's a Segura
God.
tattoo. Cool.
Somebody got Tom Segura tattooed with some sort of a Viking hat on. What is that hat?
Samurai.
Samurai hat.
Yeah.
Oh, right. That's an Okinawan symbol on his forehead.
Yeah, we get a lot of people that do the Legion of Skanks logo tattoo. As
Why
like a,
Segura Samurai?
This guy, the artist, just like made a thing, and he offered to give someone a deal if they like tatted it on them.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Look how good the microphone looks. Fuck, this guy's good. What is his name?
Jamie Lee Parker.
Jamie Lee Parker, hidden Los Angeles tattoo,
Hills.
West Hills, California. Damn, that guy's good. That guy's really good. Holy shit. See, that's what I'm talking about. Like, these are real artists. Like, look how good that Joker is. That's insane.
Yeah.
These are real artists who are really, like, when I was a kid, there was a lot of guys who would just take one of those things off the wall and they'd go, oh, you want a Black Panther on your arm? Ha. And they would wet it and stick it on your arm and pull it down. And then they would just start tracing that line. They'd do a shitty job of doing it. A lot of my friends got these dog shit tattoos. A lot of them was the Black Panther with the claws.
Yeah, cutting into the skin.
Yeah, the claws would be red.
Yeah.
Oh, so stupid.
You ever see like stupid things like Tweety Bird tattoos on the walls? Like, who the fuck would ever choose that?
A lot of people.
Yeah. My
lot of
mom had
people.
like straight up jailhouse tattoos. My mom had a money sign that was done with ash with a needle into her
Nice.
hand.
Got to get that paper. I understand that.
It's ironic, right?
You got to do what you got to do. Got to get that paper. Let everybody know.
There's those weird tattoos that just like own a period in time, like the barbed wire
Yeah,
thing, the
yeah.
tramp stamp, even a little bit. Like they all just kind of like
little bit.
own that like the '90s
Yeah.
kind of thing that you're like, oh, no one really
Julian
does that
McCall is a
anymore.
dude with a tramp stamp. He's got a butterfly tramp stamp.
Thank God. Why?
I don't know.
You never know.
Yeah, he just got it. It's kind of funny. I guess it's funny.
Yeah.
Kind of funny. Yeah.
Have you
What
seen
is
the
this?
Russian prison tattoos?
Yeah.
There's a couple books about them. They're pretty dope.
Well, there's one, Fedor Emelianenko, his brother, Fedor's brother, Alexander Emelianenko, he's got a bunch of crazy Russian tattoos on his body, and he had mob tattoos on his chest, on his right in front of his delts, and he got them both redone and switched over. He's fucking jacked now. Have you
He's got
seen
out of prison,
Alexander
right?
Emelianenko? Jacked.
Really?
Yeah.
Because they were never really jacked in
Look
their
up
fighting days.
Alexander Emelianenko recent
Yeah.
muscles picture.
He just came back.
Because that was part of their charm.
He's in the pokey
those,
for a
those
while.
guys.
He
Did
was
a
in jail.
stretch. Yeah, he did a stretch for rape.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he came out.
He was fighting with Hep C. He's like a fucking, just a bad, scary
Look
dude.
at him. Look at him
yeah.
now. He's super jacked. That's a good picture, but there's a better picture of him like facing head on where you go, holy shit. Like he's like legitimate. No, that's not it. Whatever. But you get the point. That's what he used to look like.
Yeah,
He used to
yeah.
look like a bear. He used to have like I got a little bit of that right here. A little bit of fat right here. He's got like a little bit of that. Like right there.
Oh wow!
Jacked.
So he's because the part of the charm of the Emelianenkos was that they were almost kind of like just looked like that, like oh we don't even give a fuck, we're just tough Russians, we don't care.
Yeah, he got a hold of that fucking USADA shit. Look at his left and his right. Go back to that picture real quick. Look at those the tattoos on his pec, on his right and his left side. Like you see him there. That's when they were a Russian gang tattoo. And he's got a woman on his back, like a skeleton holding a baby tattooed on his back. Have you seen his back? It's the creepiest shit. Go pull up back tattoo. Yeah, look at his back. It's fucking crazy.
Gremlins holding a baby.
A skeleton holding a baby. Like, what? Okay.
I just don't want to fight that guy.
What do you want on your back? Dude, only one thing. Only skeleton holding baby. That
What
is
is
life.
the scariest image you can think
The
of?
skeleton holding baby is life. This is what I want to tell the world. When you see my back, I am skeleton holding baby. Baby has sword. Do it now. Do it. And a bat.
It is moment
above.
before baby kill skeleton.
Yeah, and there's bats of the moon, and the bats in the moon, and the bats fly.
He goes, you mess up tattoo.
Just in South Beach, describing this to some asshole.
Look at his fucking tattoo, man. That is so evil.
Gott
Let's
meets
go.
uns. What does that mean? Gott
I don't know.
meets uns.
Well, I don't think it's American. I think that's Russian words, right?
Yeah.
So who knows what it says.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. That Russian language is a trip to look at, man. When you see Russian typed out, you're like, what? You guys, how long you been doing this?
It's like, how cold and
Yeah.
hungry were you
Yeah.
that you came up with this shit?
Like, this
Oh, it was
is your
used by the
language?
Third Reich?
God with us, it says. It's Third Reich shit?
Whoa. Oh, he doesn't give a fuck.
Whoa.
Real last dude of the week, Alexander Lemonenko.
Whoa. God with us is a phrase commonly used in heraldry in Prussia from 1701 and later. Oh, okay. Prussia first. So it has its roots in Prussia.
Yeah.
Okay. The German military during the period spanning the German Empire, 1871 to 1918. So it was World War I, and then the Third Reich, 1933 to 45.
So it was in
and
the first
early-
two Reichs also.
Yeah, but
It
the
wasn't
most,
just the third.
But the most important thing is that the origins are Prussia, right? And so he's very nationalistic, I'm sure.
Yeah, I still.
So it
let me-
could be.
You got to be. Look, dude. In
it's-
today's day and age, you know, we all know the swastika. It has other meanings before the Germans took over, but you can't get a swastika tattoo and go, no, but it's a good one.
Yeah, but
No,
it also is
dude,
the,
I'm talking about
is the
peace
war
shit.
cry of the Swedish army. See, it's in 1631. It was done. It was sang "Gott mit uns" by Sabaton during the first battle of Breitenfeld in 1631. God with us with the war cry of the Swedish army.
That was
So
the last
they-
time Sweden was picking wars with anybody.
So this is probably like some Russian gang shit is what we're missing. Like
Yeah.
God is with us, meaning God is with the Russian gang members. And we're just jumping to conclusions because the Nazis liked it too.
Yeah, and we're also like in America, like Nazis are such a symbol of like
Yeah.
evil shit. I don't know
Yeah.
exactly in his culture in Russia where they're from if that's like fucking Hitler is this the Antichrist that we kind of make him out to be.
The,
for
the Russians and
certainly
the
is.
Nazis didn't get along very well.
Well, they also
either.
had their own guy. They had Stalin just starving people to
Yeah,
death.
and he was responsible for one more deaths.
And he was responsible for their deaths.
Yeah,
Like that.
of his own people. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
fucking-
Hitler killed a lot of Russians too.
He
I
did.
mean,
And
they
so did
both
the
killed them.
Mongols.
Yeah.
Everybody killed Russians.
Yep.
That
Russians have it fucked up, man.
That's why they're so hardy. That's why they're so dangerous as like fighters. Those are the survivors, man. I
So-
mean, you got some cream of the crop genetics over in Russia. Like no bullshit.
Yeah, in like 100-year period, Russia because like America was in 2 world wars, but it wasn't here. It was like
Right.
we sent our boys to go fight over there. Russia had 2 world wars. Their country straight up collapsed twice.
Yeah.
They had the Bolshevik Revolution and then the collapse of the Soviet Union,
Mm-hmm.
and then they had like just genocidal dictatorship in between that.
Yeah.
It was just a bad time to be Russian.
Well,
Or-
they've gone through a whole bunch of those in the past. When you go look at Russian history, like, what is the fuck? We went to the Genghis Khan exhibit at the Reagan Library out here, and you get to see how much of Russia they captured and how much of like. I didn't know that Genghis Khan had the biggest empire ever. Like, they literally owned all of Eurasia.
And he was fucking like 40% of the people in it.
Everybody.
Like,
I mean, that dude, there's some insane number of people that are genetically related to him in Asia. Like, insane number.
Uh-huh. And they would do this shit where they would like send like fuck, it's been a while since I read about this, but like they would like send in like when they were going to conquer like a village, they'd like send in like a note that's basically kind of like, well, look, just give up all your shit
Yeah.
right now and you'll be okay. And then some of the villages would be like, no, we're not giving up all our shit.
They'd
And be
kill
like,
them anyway,
Okay.
though.
And then they just come in. Yeah. And then they do that just to like send a fucking message. Like
Yeah.
even people who agreed to it, it's like brutal shit.
Have you listened to Dan Carlin's Wrath of the Khans?
I've
I've talked about it too many times.
He's the man, though.
If you're a regular listener to this podcast, I apologize for the next couple of minutes. But it's the greatest fucking podcast series ever. It's all about Genghis Khan. And I had no idea. I knew he was a bad guy. But it's like my knowledge of Genghis Khan was similar to my current knowledge of Alexander the Great. It's like, I heard he was gay. Guy was crazy. That's it. That's all I know. Killed a lot of people. I don't really know. Oh, yeah. It's in modern Afghanistan. That area. I don't know jack shit about Alexander the Great. And that was my same thing with Genghis Khan. I knew he was a bad guy, conquered a lot of people, owned the world for a while. But Dan Carlin's 5-part series is so goddamn good that you just really get a really accurate sense of how insane life was back then, about what these fucking people did. There's one story about the Khwarezmian Shah who sent an envoy to Jin, China, and along the way they saw in the distance what they thought was a snow-covered mountain. But as they got closer, they realized it was a pile of bones. They had killed everyone in the city. They killed 1 million people and stacked them up. And these people they had to abandon the road because the road was so overrun with bodies that had rotten and decayed that people were getting sick and dying because there were so many bodies. They had abandoned the road.
That's the shit with anything anyone cares about today, and this goes for myself too, like anyone who's into like issues or politics, it's like you should always just keep in mind, we have it so fucking good.
So good.
We have it so good compared to what like everybody's had.
But that's what progress is all about. We want it so good, we want it better. We want it better. We want it better. We want no this, no that, no violence, no sexism, no racism, no nothing.
Yeah.
We want it better and better and better and better. And now we got some ground. People are getting more and more excited about gaining more new ground.
Yeah, but it's like we're never going to have it be perfect. So I almost feel like
why though?
Because that's the concept of there never being any sort of racism, sexism, or somebody's always going to perceive something as being that, right? So it's the onus is almost on the quote unquote victim sometimes to take the step back and go like, okay, I'm not a victim right now. I'm a brown person, dude. If I want to call racism, I could do it every single day of my life if I really want to, okay? And I feel like we're never going to have that because it's very addictive to be a victim. It's very addictive to feel like you're wronged in some way, and it's also very addictive to look for reasons for it that aren't really necessarily your fault. Being
That's true right now.
is a very like, I'm helping the world.
Yeah.
That idea, people feel like they're doing something good, and you'll never convince them that no matter how ridiculous they might be, you'll never convince them that they're not being.
My biggest beef, and I agree with you. I agree with you too, though. I think that's like how progress happens. Like you have to keep wanting to make it better and better.
Yeah.
My biggest problem with say like the like left wing activists of today is that it's like they'll just go. It's almost like they want to burn it down because it's not perfect.
I think
and you're like,
takes,
okay, just appreciate how the steps that we've come, and let's go the next step. But don't burn it down because it could be a lot worse.
With the way we hold on to ideas and beliefs, it takes several generations for real progress to occur. The problem right now is there's so much technological progress that's aiding the physical progress that the progress is taking place far faster than it can handle. It's almost like going downhill in the snow, and you're like, oh Jesus! Like you're in a car and you're driving downhill in the snow. It's like you kind of can hit the brakes, but are they really going to work? You're ahead of yourself.
Yeah.
You don't have full control. And I think as a human species, that's currently the state we're at, where people are trying to force things down people, and we're trying to force change. And change normally takes a long ass time to really settle in, and it's happening so quick we can't really keep up with it.
Yeah,
That's
well,
what
we're
I
playing
think is
by like
happening.
old rules too. It's like we didn't have the same way to communicate. You can get an idea across the world instantly the same way. So I think that people are reacting to that, and they don't know how to really deal with it. They don't know how to share an idea with somebody that might not agree the same way. But we do, because you turn off your cell phone, you go to the supermarket, dude. Whoever's I'm standing next to online. We get along. We're cool. No matter what our backgrounds are, what we believe, we're just coexisting.
Yeah, well, that's like the shit I was saying before about Chick-fil-A versus other businesses where I'm sure there's some guy who just believes shit that I find horrifying, but I'm just like, hey, let me get a water, let me get a dollar. It's like you don't even think about that shit. And it's like, yeah, we do exist in this world. We like come together and do all this shit all the time, but then you can kind of like pretend online that you have this, like, we're worlds apart, and I would never do business with this
And
guy.
also, the problem is communicating online. It's a shitty way of communicating.
Yeah.
People should have conversations in front of each other where they can look at each other and you can work through stuff.
Podcasting.
Like for real.
You're 100% right about it, because you have an opportunity to be wrong, find out why you're wrong, think about it, process it, as opposed to editing your opinion down and going, here it is. This is a very specific, perfect version where it's not even really what your opinion is. It's just how people are going to perceive it.
It's a game. You're playing a word game.
Yes.
You're playing word sports. You're trying to win. And there's a real problem with people that aren't good at communicating one-on-one, because that's really the most valuable form of communication. It's two people in front of each other. You're like, well, I'm going to write you an email because I can't really talk to you about this. And then you get this crazy email accusing you of all sorts of shit. And
you're reading the tone
bro.
differently.
And you could call them up, hey, man, what the fuck is this email? Like, this is nonsense. Like, this shit didn't happen. And then you get together and have a conversation about it. Like, let's talk person to person. Like, what is
me
this?
and Big J, we just got into a thing one time. I don't know what it was. We just, as we've been like fucking brothers for like, you know, a decade and a half almost, right? We're like real close friends. We just got into a thing like where I just wrote him a long email. I was like, I'm going to write it in form of an email. And then he's taking the tone like very wrong. So then he writes me back an email kind of shitty. And now we're like in a fucking fight. And the reality was I was just trying to communicate like road dates or something. It was so stupid.
You're like one conversation away from deading the whole thing and just like working it out. Yeah.
Dude, text messages, emails, so much is left to interpretation. And depending upon how you're receiving that, if you're in a good mood, you're like, oh, I guess he's just busy. No big deal. He's a good guy. He'll get back to me. Or if you're in a down place, like this motherfucker, it's always on his terms. Those fucking guys
Did you read
are
our
the
conversation?
worst. Yeah, everything's always on your terms too, man. If I call you and you don't want to talk to me, don't talk to me. I'll be okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear this bitch ass shit like where people get angry if you're busy. Like, oh my God, it's always on your terms. No, I'm busy.
And while you're saying it's on their terms, so much of that has to do with like your fucking like if you're in a fight with your chick and you don't have the job you want to have and you don't, and then some guy doesn't return your it's like fuck him, man, he's doing this. But if everything's going good, you seem to be like, oh, he's probably
hey bro,
busy.
I know you're on that backcountry hike, but I really appreciate you getting into cell phone service so you can call me. I need to work out this stuff with Michelle, and she's fucking freaking me out. It might be it, bro. I hope you were there when I needed you, bro, and you weren't.
People don't pick up the phone anymore either.
Yes,
I call. I'm a caller. I have fat thumbs. If I text you and I'm angry, I'm gonna end a friendship with you because I'm gonna be so frustrated with my fat thumbs texting shittily.
I can't believe Lewis just called me a faglet.
Text is weak. It's weak. It's just not a good phone. It's good like, hey, here's your address. See you tomorrow.
Yes.
It's good for that kind of shit. But that's all. That's all it's good for. It's not good for I mean, it's good for fun too. You say shitty things to each other if you know for a fact that you're real good friends. You know?
Yes, you're right. It's like Twitter or something like that is good for like, you know, it's good for like, hey, if you want to check out something cool, go to www.coolstuff.com. But it's not good for like, let me explain to you my take on taxation or some shit like that.
Even worse, your take on a person.
Yeah.
The thing about your take on a person is you're allowed to have your, obviously, like say some politician or what have you, you're absolutely allowed to have your opinion on them. But you're not really talking to them. Like, if you really, do you know them? We just sit in the, like, there's always a limitation if you're looking at someone from afar, right? And if you could sit down in front of someone, some politician that you agree with or disagree with, and then have a conversation with them, then you would find out who the fuck they really are. Then you'd find out who the fuck you really are in respect to this argument. And that makes sense. But you can't do that. There's not enough people. There's no way. There's no way that everybody who has an idea about anybody else can be with them. But we have to respect that gap. Like if you like sports guys are the worst at it, the worst. When they talk about a certain player being lazy or a certain fighter being a pussy, like what are you going on about? Do you know you're talking about a professional cage fighter and you're calling them a pussy? But I read that shit all day. I read it all the time. And it's that thing where you would never say that if you were in front of them. You would never say that in front of them.
I weirdly think that like as a fan, you're buying the right to express that opinion in a weird way, though. Not that they're a pussy, but like when people get mad at people booing at UFC events, I'm going like, I don't know, they're kind of buying that experience, you know, and I can't hate on them if they want to express themselves that way. You know, it's sort of a thing. I mean, look, I got very humbled doing the podcast with Michael Bisping because I was doing radio on Sirius XM for a while and talking about MMA like I fucking knew anything. And then I started doing the show with Bisping, and then I was like, oh, I don't know shit. I'm not even gonna pretend like I know shit. And I'm so much better at it now. I'm not trying to fit into this fucking like mold or whatever. But yeah, I think that from a fan's perspective, I don't really get mad at them when they start talking shit or start to like. It's kind of like it's part of the experience, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get it, but you shouldn't be disrespectful to people for no reason like that. Like there's a lot of guys that get into it just because it's like they feel like they're behind a wall and they can lob bombs. It's a pussy move.
It's a weird.
It's not healthy for
to
you
be going.
either.
It's like if you go to an event and there's two guys getting in a cage fucking fighting.
Yeah.
To start booing them just seems to me, it's like, dude, I mean, come on, man. They're fucking, to entertain you guys, getting in there and putting it all on the line. Like, yeah, they have a right to.
I
you know,
agree
they should, but
wholeheartedly.
like,
I would never in a million years, but at the same time, I kind of understand it. It's almost like,
Well, they should be able to boo your comedy shows too then.
yeah, but I'll tell you, you know what? I'll tell you why not. Because
Why?
they're not, I don't believe that at a comedy show, if they're booing you during your set, they're completely taking out the experience for everybody else. And I feel like at a live sporting event, it's just not the same thing. They're not getting in the fighter's head. I mean, maybe they are a little bit.
They are.
But you know, I talked to Mike about this. You know, he says people boo me, they fucking love me.
Mike's
It's
a
not-
bank vault. He's a different type of person.
That
That's
is
why he's
true.
a champion. He's got a different kind of mental strength. He doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
That guy can plow through everything, and that's why he became a champion. I mean, he's like one of the most mentally strong guys to ever fight in MMA, because he's a guy that when he started out, he was good. He was very good. He won the Ultimate Fighter season 2 and was a good fighter, but willed himself into the position of being a champion, and was knocked out, was stopped, was beaten, had his momentum stopped, restarted right back up again with the same or better enthusiasm every time.
Yeah.
And deep into his 30s, did it all clean, no steroids, no allegations, no bullshit. Just worked hard and was tough as fuck and won the fucking middleweight title.
Yeah.
That's a different type of mind.
dude, I know he lost 2 in a row, but the fact that he went out there and had a fight that I thought he was going to win until GSP caught him with that left. I thought he was going to win the fight, and then loses to GSP for the title in the biggest middleweight fight probably ever, and then just goes, I want to fight Kevin Gastelum in 2 weeks. Kelvin, sorry.
Yeah.
After, like, you go like, Jesus, man.
Yeah, he's an
His
animal.
logic is so good.
Jesus.
It's such a fucking straight up real ass dude logic. He's like, yeah, mate. You know, I already did a training camp. Why not get 2 paychecks?
Yeah, it was a rough fight though. I don't think it was a smart fight for
Probably
him.
not a
No,
smart
probably
move.
not.
I agree with you on that.
I think he was
He's
beat up. Look, George St. Pierre, you know, he took 4 years off and everything like that, but he's still one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time. And you saw that in that fight.
Yeah.
I don't think he was. I mean, Michael cut him. He cut him with those elbows, particularly from the bottom. But you know, George St. Pierre he's a special guy. He really is a special athlete.
People were really underestimating how great George St. Pierre was.
Yeah.
He's a guy who beat every person that was ever put in front of him. The losses that he had avenged so beautifully.
Dominantly.
George St. Pierre is a monster, and you know, I think that everyone, including myself, you know, really didn't think he was going to be able to come back with that long of a layoff and compete the way that, you know, you said it yourself. Mike was just mentally pushing himself forward, getting better and better. Michael Bisping today destroys Michael Bisping, a younger Michael Bisping 7 years ago. That's crazy. He's an older man now.
Yeah, maybe. It's entirely possible. I mean, the fighting is such a crazy proposition that even with like elite guys, like even when someone won a fight, like if you made them fight again, would they win 100% of the time? I don't think they would.
Not 100%.
No.
for
So
sure.
there's things in weird events that can change your fortune in a fight.
I said that
They
about
can go back
Ngannou and
forth.
Stipe. I think if Ngannou could beat him a few times, if they fought 10 times, he can knock him out.
If they fight
there's-
10 times, Stipe definitely doesn't win all 10.
No, not
like,
at
there's
all.
definitely a few that Ngannou
Well,
pulls
that-
off.
for sure, if they have a rematch. See, the thing about like, would you have to restart it with a time machine where there's no memory whatsoever
Right,
about
right.
experiencing each other? Because you know, you understand patterns. That's why it's weird when you see guys fight training partners. It's like there's guys that just know each other so well that when they get in there, they've already established a pattern. One guy's always bullied the other guy in training. One guy's beat the other guy up, and you could see it when they actually fight.
Yeah. Well, actually, and the other thing, just as we're saying this, I go, yeah, George St. Pierre is the greatest ever. If you have
pretty
to make a
close.
case if you have to make a case, I don't think there's a stronger case for anyone than for George St.
That was
Pierre.
crazy.
Even
Him
as you
coming
said
back.
he beat everyone he ever faced. He had 2 losses that were Matt Hughes and Matt Serra, right? And came back and destroyed them in the rematches.
Yeah.
Matt Hughes twice, and Matt Serra just came back
Yeah.
and beat him in the third rubber match. Never happened.
Right.
And then, after retiring, comes back and wins a championship, a division up.
Not just that, but
4 years
finishes Michael Bisping
Yeah.
and chokes him unconscious with a rear naked choke that was one of the tightest, most cinched up rear naked chokes I've ever seen anybody perform ever. I mean, he had it like a jiu-jitsu guy. Like a lot of MMA guys, they have a harder time getting those gloves fully locked into position. Like there's a difference between there's this there's a rear naked choke with the palm is touching the back of the head, which a lot of people opt for because you don't have to make as much space for the arm. You can get back there, you can grab that head, but the real way to do it is like this. The real way to do it is a karate chop, where you go to the back of the neck with a karate chop, and once you have that in place, then there's this crazy leverage, and it just squeezes the fuck out of someone's neck. When someone really gets one of those locked in, and that's what George did. And the way he did it was like as tight and sweet and 4-star black belt level rear naked choke that you ever see in the UFC.
All right. God damn it, it's hard to listen to you describe it so beautifully. That's another thing, dude. I never gave a shit at all the same way. Like, me and Michael Bisping at this point have become friends to where it's like you start to fucking care about these guys.
Course, yeah.
You imagine being a family member, you imagine having somebody that you like, your blood is in there. You know, being a fan of somebody is one thing, but then you know somebody and that was hard to watch.
Schaub's one of my best friends, and I had to do commentary on some of his fights.
Yeah.
It was a real hard time. It's real hard. Last couple fights in particular was very hard for me. Very hard to like. I have to be as equally enthusiastic about him getting hit as I am about him hitting somebody.
Wow.
And I know the guy very well.
Did you ever show your ass?
Yeah, showed my ass, sure. For sure. I even said, like, everybody knew that I was really good friends with him. It was, you know, we had done a bunch of podcasts together, but I was also the guy who talked him into retiring because I was like, look, I know what's going on. Like, and, you know, I've seen this with other people and I'm not friends with them and it's not my position to tell people to stop and I don't know them that well. You'd have to know someone real well to know where their head's at, you know, but that's a sport where, see, like if you're booing a basketball game, maybe, I guess. Like there's something that's so much more intense about a fight, especially like, there's smart boos, like when someone does something illegal or someone does something cheap or weak. Yeah, or something. Someone does something that's fucked up. There's smart boos. But then there's boos where guys were just like facing each other and they're canceling each other out. Like you're watching a really high level thing where these guys are trying to solve what do I have to do to connect on this guy's fucking brainstem and knock his lights out?
But
like, what do I have to
the
do?
UFC is marketing toward these casual fans who are basketball fans and football fans who aren't really the people who are hardcores, who appreciate the martial arts side of it, what these guys are putting into it.
You think so? I think they're just marketing. I don't think they're marketing towards any specific fan. They're not marketing towards people who don't understand it.
But I think that's almost the same thing because they're just trying to get a mass audience, and the majority of people aren't people who really understand.
want to educate
what makes
people.
you say that, though? What makes you say they're trying? Like, what are they doing specifically?
What I feel like when they put together, you know, fights that don't necessarily make sense in terms of rankings, when they put the interim belts on fights where it don't really need to be there, you just know it's a marketing move because I think a title on a poster will probably sell that many more tickets.
That's a good point. It definitely juices it up when you have an interim title. That's
some
a good
dudes,
point.
like marketing dudes, going like, "Oh yeah, we sell this many more pay-per-views when there's a title." And
But
these
you know
guys
what,
don't know.
kind
They
of-
don't know the difference between an interim title or a regular title. A lot of the casuals don't know the difference between Michael Bisping or fucking George St. Pierre.
Look, I'm with you.
They're just at a
but
bar.
I almost feel conflicted because I have this part of me that's like a purist that's like, no, it should be just like whoever number one is versus the champion, and we should never fuck around.
That's how it was
but
going
then at
for
the
a
same
while.
time, if they were just like, oh, you know what, we just set up Nick Diaz versus Conor McGregor, I'd be like, that's the greatest thing that's
I'm
ever
in.
happened, and
I'm
I don't
in.
care. I don't care about anybody
I'm
else.
in.
I don't care if Khabib's won 72 fights in a
I
row.
don't care if it's in Antarctica. I'm flying out.
I'll watch
like,
Brock
let's do
Lesnar
this.
fight 100 out of 100 times. I don't give a fuck
Yeah.
where he's fighting, who he's fighting. It's just fun and it's exciting. But let's get real. I think there was something really pure, and what's beautiful about MMA is that it's always going to kind of figure itself out. It is the greatest sport because it's the greatest sport. Anything could happen any given Sunday. It's inherently built. The marketing is sort of built in already, right? So you can create a pecking order, you can create rankings, and I think you can kind of just say, hey, the pieces are going to fall where they're going to fall, and it's always going to be super exciting. And you see with the way they handle Conor or certain guys, they threw that to the side. And I think Conor's a great example of it as well, why they don't really care. They're like, all right, fuck it, dude. Go do Mayweather. They had it for a little while.
Well, they were part of the promotion.
Yeah,
They made
a lot
hundreds of
money,
millions of
yeah.
dollars off that thing. Everybody made a fuckload of money. I mean, Mayweather made hundreds of millions. Conor made 100 million. I don't know what the UFC made. Everybody got fucking crazy paid. And then they started Zuffa Boxing, and now they're offering Anthony Joshua. They're offering
$500 million.
some crazy contract. Apparently, that might be bullshit. I don't know. I haven't asked anybody if that's real, but I'm not surprised. They realize there's a lot of money in promoting fights, whether it's promoting MMA.
Yeah.
Dana has a big background in boxing. You know, his son actually just had an amateur boxing fight.
I saw that on his Instagram.
Yeah,
That kid's
he
got
loves
a great
boxing.
life. Fuck.
Dana loves boxing. He's always loved it. So it's not unusual that they decide to go into it. But with Conor, it was like one of those things where you're like, that's what you're supposed to do. If Mayweather really wants to fight Conor, and Conor's never had a professional fight, and he make $100 million, let's see. Let's see who buys it.
But I'm just saying, as an MMA purist, what's best for the sport of MMA, that's not necessarily the best move. And
it's not a bad move. It doesn't hurt it at all. Because first of all, it shows you that in the specialties, that there are people that have skills and techniques and abilities that just far exceed the very best MMA fighters. And you saw that with Conor and Floyd. Floyd just fucked him up. He just fucked him up. But Conor caught him a little bit. And he tagged him in the beginning. And you could say that Floyd wasn't going full tilt, and he probably wasn't. I would say definitely wasn't. He was definitely trying to wear him out and get him tired because he knew that he relied on kinetic energy for the first round or two. But he still got clipped with a shot he did want to get clipped with.
Sure.
You know?
I think Floyd wanted to see what Conor was doing, and he had spent the first few rounds like kind of taking in data and like seeing like, okay, what are you doing here? What weird shit are you trying? But still, I did not think Conor was going to do that good. I thought it would be over within 3 or 4 rounds, and Mayweather would knock him out, and he would just outclass him. And the fact that it went 10 and that he even landed some shots, I was pretty impressed with that.
It's not the fight itself that's like, it's not bad for as a purist. I'm saying it's almost like it's the way they're sort of letting Conor run the show. I just kind of feel like the UFC sort of always built this brand. UFC, it's the Coca-Cola of MMA, and I feel like Conor has basically become bigger, or at the very least as big as the UFC. And he doesn't give a shit. He tweeted out the other day, "I'm the boss," when he was promoting the video game. Like they did a promo with Dana White as one of the characters. But I just feel like that wasn't necessarily the best thing for mixed martial arts as a sport. I almost feel like what they were doing with
doesn't hurt it at all.
Yeah, maybe
I
not.
think it made it bigger. I mean, it's like, dude, what Conor created was like a thing that's like,
it's him.
Really hard, dude. Even when he fought Marcus Brimage as his first fight in the UFC, and I remember already there was like an energy in the crowd about Conor fighting.
Huge
and I didn't
favorite.
even know who this guy was. And you're like, why is this like such a big thing? And then every fight was just a bigger and bigger and bigger thing. And then you would create this thing where like Dustin Poirier's like biggest fight ever is against Conor McGregor, and Dustin had way more big fights than him. But still, the big deal was that you're fighting this guy. Like he would create these stages.
It was not just that. It was the results. Like, he put Marcus Brimage to sleep. He starched Dustin Poirier in the first round. He slept Jose Aldo in 13 seconds.
Crazy.
It was all real accomplishments. That was why him fighting Floyd Mayweather was interesting, because he was so exceptional as a striker.
But do you think that I give the UFC so much credit with building Conor McGregor, because he wouldn't have been able to do that anywhere else. Like, the UFC is such a big brand that he couldn't have been a Bellator fighter and become a worldwide name the way he is now.
Probably not, which is weird. Bellator's a stupid name. They need to accept that.
It's a good point. It's a good point.
They need to accept
Nobody's
that.
just said
funny.
those words
I've never
before.
even thought about that until you just said that. And I went,
Doesn't make
yeah,
any
that name
sense.
sucks balls.
Yeah. Regency Boxing. It's time for Regency Boxing on HBO. What is this nonsense? Why would you call it Regency Boxing?
Well, I'll tell you,
why would you call it Bellator MMA? Just call it MMA. It's fucking MMA. That's what it is. Just like when you watch HBO Boxing, it's on HBO and it's boxing.
So you don't think that it's good that the UFC has sort of built this brand around it? Because I think it's
great
weird.
for the UFC.
But for the sport in itself, because in boxing, even you don't really know the difference between any of the title or the organizations or the titles. You don't really. I don't know the WBC, the W. I don't know shit about boxing,
WBO,
but even
WBA,
fans don't really know the
IBF.
difference.
Well, they know who the big guys are. They know Anthony Joshua. They know his Klitschko forever. Everybody knows about Deontay Wilder now. So there's a few guys, but there's a couple other champions that are out there. They're like, who? Who's this guy?
Yeah, and that guy, the guy you've never heard of, has like 6 belts on his arm.
There's like
and
a
you're
silver
what is-
championship. There's intercontinental championships. Everybody gets belts. It's like
They're ugly
there's a
belts
lot.
too. Boxing titles look like a fucking big old.
The UFC nailed it with that belt. That
The
belt looks like
dopest
a
belt.
fucking champion belt.
Yeah,
When
sure
Conor
does.
had 2 of them, he goes, "Where's my other fucking belt? I want to be the champ." And he's got the 2 of them on his arms. Look, man, it's there's no sport like it. There's nothing like it. Nothing's gonna hurt it. As long as people are interested, as long as people enjoy it as much as I enjoy it, as much as I enjoy watching it, as much as I enjoy calling it. As long as that's going to be the case, there's always going to be kids coming up like this Sean O'Malley kid, that wild motherfucker. Have you seen that kid?
Yeah, we had him on the
His
podcast.
Instagram is just all him smoking weed. He's a fucking savage. He's out there just doing bong hits, kicking people in the
He's got
face.
a dumb afro. I love it.
I love that guy. He's an animal. And that fucking kid is like, this is this new breed. There's these new guys. They love it so much. And when they're doing it, they love it so much. And they're so good. And they're going to be better. The
Yeah.
next generation, they're just going to keep getting better and better and better.
And that's what Connor did as well, as he opened up that window because everyone's going to get paid a lot more money. Now that, dude, now there's so much, you see people talking about hundreds of millions of dollars at stake.
Dude.
It's like everyone's going, huh, okay.
That
really?
Sugar Sean O'Malley could be a fucking multi-millionaire in a couple years. And
Crazy.
I'm not bullshitting. That kid could be huge.
And that's just off his CBD oil company.
He's a wild man. He's a fucking wild man too. The way he fights. Was he gaming? Yeah. He's got one of them gaming chairs. He's fucking hilarious. But he's good, man. And the thing about him is he's like super creative. What is that thing down that? Go to the left-hand side and scroll down to that video of him working out. What is he doing there? What is he doing here? He does a lot of weird, crazy shit. Like that.
Ooh.
Yeah, like he's practicing. And then he does that 360 takedown to the back control. Like that's, I mean, he might not ever do that in real life, but he might hit that all the time. See, he does that high kick, but look at the spin. See
That's
that spin
nice.
for
That's
the
cool.
guard pass? That's very confusing because a lot of times guys dive straight in and guys who are good, especially with a half guard, wind up wrapping them up real quick. But he does a spin around it. I wonder if he could, I mean, if the way he hits that, if he does that over and over and over again, I bet he can do that in a fight.
Well, that's a cool thing about now. It's like, and we watched it with like, I think Anthony Pettis was that first like holy fuck moment with the, the last WEC event ever, the jumping kick or whatever. But you get guys that are so athletic now that, and now that there's so much money in the sport, guys that might have went into like, football or basketball, now we're looking at MMA as an option, whereas you just kind of weren't getting that years ago. So they're super athletes. Think about that, dude. How
Sure.
dangerous are these guys going to get? I always wonder about that. Like, are they ever going to get too dangerous where they're going to have to alter the rules because they're too athletic, they can cause too much damage?
They're not going to be much different than the best of the best now, like a Francis Ngannou or a Stipe Miocic or, the Tyron Woodley. When you look at a guy like Tyron Woodley, that is about as explosive as a man who can step on a scale at 170 pounds for a brief amount of time can get.
Yeah, and as good as they get, the competition kind of gets better too. So if Tyron Woodley fought people from UFC 2, you'd be like, this should be illegal. Like, you will murder these people.
Scott
You
Ferozzo
will-
versus
you
Tyron
literally-
Woodley.
Tyron Woodley could fight 60 people in a row from UFC 10.
Tyron
And
is
just-
only 170. I mean, he wouldn't be. But if they had real
Still.
170 fighters, well,
Yeah,
he's
but
not really 170.
Hoist was 170.
He's bigger than Toys.
Still,
he's
he'd
really about
fuck those heavyweights up.
205-ish. But he
From
fucked a lot
UFC
of those guys
5?
up.
What?
He'd
what?
fuck those
What
heavyweights up.
UFC would
Most of
you
those guys
start
up.
having problems? What would be it would be like UFC 50 before
You
it
get
would even
into
be an
Don
issue.
Fry. Once you got into Don Fry,
Yeah.
Don Fry was a big fella.
Yeah, but
Don
Tyron's
was-
so quick.
He's very
He
quick.
might just land a knockout shot before
He's
Don Fry
very
could
quick.
do anything.
Don Fry could also take a tremendous punch. Remember
It's
that
true.
fight with Don Fry and Takayama where they just stood in front of each other and wailed on
Yeah.
each other?
That's what-
Bam, 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 bam.
They're just
they
like-
both just landed right hand after right hand like a fucking movie. It was one of the craziest things anybody ever saw ever
This
in
crazy
MMA.
Chinaman won't go down.
Don Fry's a man's
He's
man.
hilarious,
He's a
dude.
fucking man's man.
Have
He's
you had
got
him on the podcast?
No, I have not. I would
He's-
love to though.
He's a
He's-
Love that
fucking,
guy.
he was a boss, and he's a great personality too.
We had
He
him
doesn't give
call
a
in.
shit.
We had him call in a few times.
an animal.
He doesn't give a fuck. He's hilarious.
And he paid the price physically for that career. He's had some serious health consequences, like real neck injuries and
Heart
back
attack
injuries,
recently.
and his body just got beat the fuck up. Like he had real neck and back problems, from all those punches and takedowns and neck cranks and all that shit. He was there the early days too.
Yeah, this is the one.
Look, he gets hit with a knee, and they get
And
in
they're
a clinch.
just in
Look
the
at this,
clinch.
wailing on each other. It's crazy, dude.
But this
Look
is
at
why
this.
we got into MMA.
Look at this. This is
Jesus.
fucking crazy. I mean, look at these guys. I mean, it doesn't seem real. It literally doesn't seem real that they could just stand and wail on each other. And Takayama's face is just a swollen mess after this. Don Fry's cut on the forehead. It's fucking crazy. But Don Fry, he was one of the first guys to figure out a way to shut down. We were talking about the other day with Pat Miletich, shut down Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys like this. Look at his fucking mount. Like, he was a real good wrestler, and he had a very good top game. And he also was a good boxer, too. And just a fucking stud. Just a stud. And
Just
not the
tough as
biggest guy in
nails.
the world either. When he first fought in the UFC, I believe he was only 200 pounds. And he fought a guy who was like 3-something and fucked him up in like 6 seconds.
Yeah.
He fought some big overweight guy, and he cracked him with a jab and dropped him with a jab and just beat him down on the ground real quick.
I think he beat everyone until he ran into Mark Coleman in the UFC, and then that was
Coleman
just like
was just
this
too big.
giant wrestler who
Too
you know,
big, too strong.
Yeah.
It's literally how me and Dave Smith became friends. We were roommates, and we started renting UFC like
That's how we got into UFC.
yeah, best of knockout videos together, smoking blunts, drinking
Old
Heinekens.
school.
Yeah.
Bruce Beck days.
Yeah, dude.
But you know what's weird is that we got into it, and like right around the time that we were getting into UFC, the Ultimate Fighter dropped. So it was almost like we got into it at the same time that the country got into it. Like we got into it a few months earlier, and then all of a sudden this thing no one gave a shit about was just like blowing up.
Yeah,
like,
I remember we got into it during season 1 so much that season 2, the Ultimate Fighter was coming out. We were like, dude, this is it. Season 2, Ultimate Fighter, this is fucking nuts. Fights on TV, let's do it. And there wasn't a fight in the first episode of season 2.
we were furious.
We almost broke our TV. We watched a
Furious.
real world episode.
It was the real
ridiculous.
world. That's funny, but it was also like a perfect storm of like people getting interested in it, and then having that Ultimate Fighter reality show back in the days where people, you know, I still watched reality shows back then. Now you can't even fucking hold a gun to my head and get me to watch a reality show unless they're trying to survive in Alaska. I got like 5 of those saved. I love those shows. Like Life Below Zero, that's my jam, dude. I love that show. They're out there finding salmon and shit to eat and just chopping down trees, try to stay alive.
That I could maybe get into, but I will say I think there's something interesting about the post-reality show world. Like we got over reality shows, but I feel like we're never the same. Like you never quite go back to like even just like in like what you do with this show versus a radio show. Like you're not starting it like, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. You know, it's we don't want any of that now. We just want like an honest conversation. I feel like in entertainment in general, you want something that it just seems it's not as showy. It's more just like what real life would be.
Yeah. That's what people want for sure. You know, I mean, and the thing about it is it's like it's led to a guy who was a reality star who's the president. That's as weird as it gets.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a reality star president. He's not a politician, just a businessman. Got on a TV show, was a big-time celebrity, and now he won a popularity contest. So he's the runner of the country. You're like,
If that isn't an advertisement for just fucking motivation,
Yes.
I don't know what you want to say. Like, he just said, I want that.
Or just an advertisement for how much fucking this whole
system's
system
broken.
sucks.
Yeah, the
That's
system
my
sucks a
favorite thing
fat
about
dick.
Donald Trump is like
Yes.
I used to have to really argue with lefties about how democracy is a flawed system, but now you just look at it, you're like, yeah, so how about that? Yeah. He was able to convince more fucking dummies than your person
Democracy
was, and now
works.
he's your leader.
Awesome if you have 4 people and they're all equally intelligent.
Yeah, that's right.
Y'all get together and figure something out rationally. But when you get to a place where you can't even communicate with those people anymore because there's 300 million of you and you're scattered across a continent, but you're all supposed to be on the same team voting over like really important issues that you probably don't even know anything about, like we were talking about earlier about assault weapons or fracking. You bring up anything to certain people. Offshore drilling. What are we doing?
The
I
other
don't,
thing
even
is
know,
that
I don't even know if we're supposed to be for or against fracking. I have no idea.
You definitely shouldn't be for it. I don't think it's proven that it's safe long term because they're getting into water supplies. They're causing earthquakes. There's a lot of real consequences.
there's definitely a lot of problems with it. There's also definitely a lot of wealth that was created, a lot of energy that was created. And like energy does very positive things, but I agree with you on that.
It's positive and negative.
Sure.
The problem is everybody wants to discount the negative or discount the positive. And I agree with you.
Yes, no one agrees that it's actually a cost-benefit ratio. But the thing that's like what you were saying before, where like with 4 people, democracy works. But I think a lot of it is like, okay, so if we get into a fucking thing like, let's say we're in a car crash and one of the people in the car, or a car breaks down rather, and one of the people in the car is a mechanic. We don't sit here and go like, well, let's vote over who gets to do this. You just go, well, you're a mechanic.
Exactly.
If the 3 of us are out in the fucking, woods hunting elk, me and Lewis don't go like, well, I think we should do it this way. We go, Joe, you've done this a lot before.
Dude, you don't know me that well, do you?
All right, Lewis is going to be
Joe,
a dick in the
give
woods.
me that bow.
He's going to ruin the whole experience.
Most of the time, just pure voting isn't how you get to something. You defer to experts.
Yes.
And when you just have this voting thing where it's like, well, we'll all just cast a vote. The dumb people, the same as the smart people. The educated, the same as the uneducated. You end up with this competition to just say bullshit that gets anyone up. Well, I'm going to make America great again. Well, Donald Trump empowers the worst elements of our society. And you're like, this is all fucking retarded.
I got to pee again. I can't believe this.
Yeah, I
really
should too.
Should we end it or should we keep going? We're at 3 hours. We're at 3 hours? All right, we should end it.
If 2 of the 3 of us need a pee.
Listen, I'm so excited that we did this. We got to do this more often.
Absolutely,
when are you guys going to
dude.
be in LA again?
next time you invite us on.
All right, we'll do this again. This is surprisingly, it worked really
Yeah.
well with 4 people, too.
Oh,
We
thanks,
didn't
Joe.
step on each other. It was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Fucking
and
A,
Legion
man.
of Skanks, of course, is available everywhere. Are you guys on YouTube as well, or just on
Yeah.
iTunes?
Oh, yeah. Legion of
YouTube.
Skanks is everywhere. We have our own platform called GasDigitalNetwork.com. That's our network.
Skank Fest is...
July 14th and 15th. Pre-sale tickets April 2nd. We
Go
haven't
to
announced
Ari
anybody.
Shafir's
That's,
Twitter for
couple
more
days.
details. Tickets on sale when?
April 2nd is pre-sale. It's going to be
And
nuts.
where do they buy the tickets?
SkankFestNYC.com.
All right, everybody. Thank you. Bye.
Dude, thanks so much for fucking having us on, man. That was a fucking great episode.